Like this. Hit it.
The Roger Report live morning show. Weekdays at 9 a.m.
Say y'all, I was on Roger's panel a few times and I couldn't take it. The heat. I got out the kitchen. It was hot. I was sweating. I had to get out.
He's Roger, and he's right.
Check this out.
We can live or die. You choose. I have spoken to you a lot of times in hatred and anger, and you have not heard me. Well, you had better hear me today. If you won't listen to me when I make an appeal for the Negroes because you have no concern for the Negroes, listen to me when I make an appeal for America. You claim you love America. Well, we love America. But you are driving us back and you are making a Samson out of us, and we are going to pull down the pillar. And then you think we have no right to ask for something? Is it too much to ask you to grant us human dignity? Should we be put down and shot to death for this request? If so, you can aim your guns. What the hell do you think we care about dying if you're going to deny us the right to live?
Good morning, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Roger Report Live, the best show on social media. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and hit that like button because this is where you're going to find the best content on social media, and you don't have to worry about it because you're going to have me right here to make sure that happens. And if you've already been coming to the channel for a while, then go ahead and hit that like button because you already know what time it is, and you know that this is where you're going to get the best content on social media. It's not a mystery to you at this point. You've seen other people do it. You've seen other people do it well, but what you have not seen is anyone do it quite the way I do it. So make sure you hit that like button, and everyone, yes, everyone, take a moment out to share the content, y'all. Share the content. There are so many people that need to get great content like this, and it's just a small thing you can do to help the world be in a better place. And isn't that what we want at the end of the day? Don't we want the world to be a better place? Of course we do. So share the content out. Share it through your social media. Share it through word of mouth, or even text someone's phone. But do what you got to do to help spread the word. All right, folks, today I am here to talk about a subject because it's something that just kind of needs to be on the record, you know. And I did just change the title. I meant to do it earlier, but I forgot to do it, but I changed because I want people to pay some form of attention to this. You know, this needs to be on the table, needs to be on record. And I know things are happening in American society, but this needs to be on the record. So today we are going to be talking about a small thing, okay? We're going to be dealing with the fact that the gender wage gap is evidence of women's laziness. Okay. That's what it has become, y'all. It has become evidence of women being lazy, which I understand is a controversial thing to say. That doesn't mean it ain't the truth. It's a controversial thing to say, but that doesn't mean it ain't the truth. And there should be no responsibility on men to say, you know, for the general man to say or feel bad because we believe that women are not getting their fair shake. And of course, this gender wage gap is very much pushed. So I do believe it's to make sure people think that women are getting oppressed in a way that they're not. Okay? That's what I believe a lot of this is about. Trying to get people to assume or accept that women are getting oppressed in a way that they're not. Now, before we go too far into this, I want to give credit where credit is due. There are people that helped me along the way. Excuse me. Some people help a little. Excuse me. Some people help a little, yet some people help a lot. It doesn't make a difference. People doing what they can is always appreciated and should be appreciated. People doing what they can should be appreciated. So I got to give a shout out to anybody who helps me over here, because y'all help me, put something together that I can't just do it the same way on my own. So shout out to, I guess this is pronounced Il Libra. I guess that's how you pronounce it. I hope I'm saying it right. Shout out to Il Libra. He is the sponsor of today's stream, y'all. And I've told y'all before, big or small, I appreciate it all. Okay, that's real talk, y'all. Big or small, I do appreciate it all. So shout out to Il Libra. He is the sponsor of today's stream. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you, brother. And let me give some shout out to some of the first people to check in this morning. It's always great that when you start your show, you see some people starting to check in right away. Please forgive me, y'all. Please forgive me. Sorry about the sneezing. So yeah, it's always great to see people checking in. But as y'all know, if you've been coming here a while, there can only be one. And that one today is my main man. Gyogami has done it again. He is the Highlander of today's stream. Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to you. And y'all, if you're a regular listening here and you ain't been Highlander of a stream, what is you waiting on? What is you waiting on? You got to get that together. You got to get that together. Shout out to my main man, Trail Bentley, who was also in the building, representing like he always does. Hashtag long live the habitual line steppers. Hashtag Negroes in the wilderness. Hashtag dignity over vagina. Hashtag Al Gore's babies. And my personal favorite, hashtag Hell Hydra. Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to you. Great to see you. The deputy on the grill is in the building. Shout out to J Dub representing the pit crew. Glad to have you here. Glad to have you here. And the pit master himself is also checking in. He is in the building. So shout out to my main man, y'all. He and the pit crew help us keep it all looking good and smooth, y'all. They help us keep it all looking good and smooth, okay? Because stuff can be getting out of order sometimes. They going to help it stay in order. So shout out to those brothers for what they do. Definitely appreciate them. Definitely appreciate them. Shout out to Afro Merchant. I see you in the building. Great to see you, my brother. Great to see you. Sarah B is here. Hey, Sarah. How you doing, Sarah? Great to see you, Sarah. Boot Camp is here. We got you. I'm listening in the building as well. Glad to see you all. Glad to see you all. And I got to thank Sarah. Okay. Sarah B came through yesterday, y'all. She sent in a cash out that I didn't see yesterday towards the end of the show, but Sarah B came through. And I appreciate you, Sarah B. I appreciate you, Sarah. Nothing like Sarah B coming through. Even though it was toward the end of the show, it's always good. It's always great. Thank you very much. I definitely appreciate you. And it's good to know there's a few female listeners that's over here and they steady and they rocking with us. Because when we see that, we know we getting things into a better place, y'all. When we see that, and she said, she said she was just throwing in, and salute. And hey, salute to you, Sarah. I appreciate you. And I'm going to take this today as me getting off to a good start. So thank you very much, Sarah. It's always better when you see yourself getting off to a good start. So shout out to you, Sarah. Appreciate you big time. All right. All right. Now, let's get into this, y'all. This gender wage gap. Now, why am I doing this? And if some of y'all who've been around, y'all know I've talked about this before, but something needs to be on the record over here at the Roger Report Live. So I'm putting it on the record, and I'm just saying what it is at this point. The gender wage gap is evidence of women being lazy. Okay? Now, why am I saying that? Because we got to be realistic about stuff. All right? In this country, the great United States of America, there's a lot of opportunity out here. And some of us, we take advantage of the opportunity in a certain way. Some of us, we choose not to. Things can be difficult for folks. Things can be a lot better for folks. Over here, you still can think for yourself, okay? we have the ability where we still can think for ourselves and do a few different things here and there. Now, I know at this particular point in time, a lot of people are looking at certain executive orders and the effects of certain executive orders. And I think a lot of people believe like some major changing is going to happen. I don't know how major any change is going to be because of quote unquote what it's called now is DEI. I don't know how much major change is going to happen because of some adjusting. Okay. Do I believe the best person for the job is going to even get the job? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I don't necessarily believe that. Okay. Shout out to KF3905. I just want to see what you say. I see you look, you wrote a little something here already in the beginning. So let me see what you're saying. He says, don't even start, Roger. You know, these black queens making way more money than these lazy Negroes. That's why they strong and independent. Shout out to Kevin 3904. Excuse me, 3905. That's why they strong and independent. Hey, you know what? A bunch of strong, independent women should be challenging folks when it comes to making money. I'm just gonna keep it real. If you strong and you independent and you don't need no man, yeah, you gonna challenge some men on making money because that's what what better do you have to do? Real talk. But honestly, I don't think things are gonna change in the way that a lot of people have made claim things are gonna change. I know there's a lot of people who are, worried about their future. I'm gonna tell y'all again what my daddy told me years and years ago. He said, son, when you in a recession, that means your friends are losing their jobs. He said you in a depression when you lose yours. So he gave me a closer way to look at the economy. Okay, look at the economy from a personal level. Okay, because it could be good for some. Of course, it's going to be bad for some, but it can be great for others all at the same time. So he told me, hey, you got to get a little more personal with your economy. And that's your personal economy. That's what's going on. You're in a recession when your friends start losing their jobs. Now, can your friends lose their jobs without the country going into some form of recession or depression? Absolutely. That can't happen. You can be friends with people, y'all just having to work at the same location. Factory go down, boom, everybody out of a job. Things like that can happen. Okay, things like that can happen. Now, if your friends are working a bunch of different jobs and folks losing this over here, then they losing this over there, that could be an indicator on how the economy is moving at that particular time. So there is your personal economy. Then, of course, there's what's going on with the country and what's going on with the world. All right. Now, when it comes to the gender wage gap, I have to say, men should not feel bad about this gender wage gap. And black men especially feel some kind of way about it because you see black men all the time. If you look for that type of stuff, you will hear black men saying, yeah, I don't want nobody taking advantage of my daughter. If my daughter working a job, I want her to be able to make the same kind of money that a man can make. Matter of fact, while he was actually, if my memory is correct, while he was actually a sitting president, even President Obama said that. Now, I'm not saying he said it for the reason that other men say it, because let's be realistic. He's considered the first black president of the United States. Ain't nobody worried about his daughters not making money. That's to have a world where a president of the United States has some daughters, then somebody go unfairly pay them. That's not even real world stuff. So he wasn't talking about himself. That was an idea put so other people can accept that ideal and have that idea in their mind and somewhat rock with that idea. He said that for other people. He wasn't worried about his daughters. I mean, his daughters gonna be fine. They're children of the president. Okay. Now I know some of y'all may say, well, it's been a couple of children of the president that ran into some hard time. Hey, when you children of a president and you mess your life up, that kind of was more on you. Okay. that was kind of more on you. For the general perspective, I'm pretty sure that was more on you. But being the son or daughter of a president nowadays, yeah, you're not about to have a messed up life. It just is what it is. So Obama has 2 daughters, so of course it's a statement that he can make, and people can, really get a feel for that statement. It can hit their spirit. Okay, it can hit their spirit. And there's been plenty of other guys who say, yeah, I don't want somebody paying my daughter less than what they're gonna pay a man. Now we got to start being realistic. When folks sign up to get a job, for the most part, they're gonna take what the company is paying for that position. That's really what it's about. The average employee is going to take a job and expect to get paid what that position pays. Doesn't make a difference if you are a man, woman, black, white, Hispanic, whatever. You're going to get paid an amount of money because of the position. Now, I'm not going to say people from the company in the internal state, from an internal situation. I'm not saying certain people who don't necessarily deserve a promotion won't be promoted. That can happen. But they're going to justify that person's pay based on the position that they hold. All right? As people were trying to stay more elite than other people, college degrees start affecting certain things too. Because, you get a job, but you have a college degree. They will justify paying a person more money because of the degree. Not saying that that's a bad thing. Not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying what happens. Okay? We're going to give you more money because you have a degree. Sometimes that can happen even if you got a degree in the field that has nothing to do with a particular job. Now, when it comes to people who own the companies, well, they're going to make money based on, some situations they're going to be an employee of the company and get a salary. But of course, they still get to reap the benefits of the profits of the company. And then some of them is just they make a lot more money because they are the owner of the company. So they get to pay themselves a ridiculous amount of money if they want to. And there's been some owners that have went in different ways about that. There's been some owners who pay themselves a relative wage based on just other people in the economy when they could have paid themselves a whole lot more. And then there's some people who get paid ridiculous amount of money when you start comparing them to other folks. And then some folks, you get a top position, a CEO, whatever. Yes, there are CEOs who make in the tens of millions in a year. Okay. You might get 10, 11, 12 million a year for being a CEO if you happen to be at the right location. It just is what it is. Now, this is the thing about America. Now, I can't tell you I'm an expert all over the world. I just know how America works, and I know there's places who do some similar things to America. Okay, so in America, all right, people have pushed this gender wage gap due to some of the executive orders that have been signed since President Trump's second term. I'm pretty sure, people are going to put some more focus on things like this as well. I'm just putting it back on the record because I just want it on the record on my channel. Now, when it comes down to it, people are going to say, well, and people have already said, well, because of certain changes, they're concerned that people won't get the opportunity they're supposed to get, and this person won't get hired. These women are going to quote unquote get fired. Now, let's be realistic. Now, there's been some black women fired since Trump has been in office. Okay, about 300,000 of them at this point. Okay, what is it? Today is June 2025. June 25 of 25. Okay. 6/25/25. Yeah, some black women done lost some jobs. That's just real talk. Some black women done lost some jobs. But do I think something like that is just going to keep spreading across the country in some kind of abnormal state for even black women? No, I don't think that's going to happen like that. I don't expect like 5 million black women to lose a job this year. Okay, we still got half the year to go. But I don't expect it's going to turn into like 5 million black women lost. I don't think nothing like that's going to even happen. Now, I could be wrong, but I doubt it. Real talk, I doubt it. All right. Now, there's people who are going to push this wage gap issue. I'm not going to say they're going to be lying on everything they say. I think the thing is to pay attention to what's the actual information is, because a lot of people are moved by presentation. But if you pay attention to the information, a lot of times it don't be anything to be excited about. Okay, it's not anything to be excited about. You know, people talk about this gender wage gap. Now, let's look at where the gender wage gap comes from. You know, and I accept that in yesteryear there was different expectations going on, and there was more of an expectation for women to work in the home versus work outside the home. I get it. Okay. But at this point in time, America has been said it straight that women can work just like men can work. Women actually have advantages that men don't have. And I've said it many times before. I probably say it many times again. See, once you graduate high school and you had your 18th birthday, when those two things come together, okay, a man can go out into the world. He can go get him a job. That's available. He can go start a business. That's available. He can go join the military. That's available. He can go to college or some type of trade school to further his education. That's available for him to do. All right. Now, the thing is, that availability is also there for women too. It's not like they can't do those things. Okay. It's not like they can't do those things. Now, women also have an option where they can actually go get a husband. Now, will they get a husband that is in the same financial position that they're in? A lot of them will, but women do have an opportunity to jump up in a class situation just because of who her husband is. She can be 19 years old and meet some guy that's 28 years old who been making $250,000 a year for the last 3 years. She can do that, and he will marry her and try to put her in this lifestyle that she never that she had only been able to dream of up until that particular point. And you know what? She may not work at all. He making $250,000 a year. She may not work at all. So when we look at men and women, you know, the how they promote this pay gap situation. You take what all the men are making, then you take what all the women are making. You see what that number is. You know, you divide it all up, see what it come out to, and they say, hey, the women make more than the men. Okay, we all these men got all this money. Okay, because well, let me say it a little better than that. You take the men and what they've earned for the year, then you take the women and what they've earned for a year. You look at what it added up to, and you say, hey, there's a pay gap. The men have earned this, but the women have only earned that. Well, some of them women that met a man making $250,000 a year, or some nice amount of money where his wife ain't got to work no more. Or maybe she never got a job. Maybe she came straight out of high school and didn't get no job at all. Maybe she went to college. Maybe she didn't. But she got a man who making enough money where she ain't got to worry about it. It is what it is. Now, they will use a woman like that from a statistical standpoint to tell men that we're not doing right by women. How am I not doing right by women if women can go meet a man making a significant amount of money per year, far greater than the average person makes? She can be with that man and never have to work a day in her life if that ain't what she chooses to do, if that ain't what her husband chooses for her to do. She can be good. She literally can be retired at what, 19, 20, 21, 22, whatever the case. Yeah, because she can be 19 and meet some dude who's 29. Yeah, 10-year difference. The 29-year-old say, nah, babe, I'm already in the job. I'm making $300,000 a year. You ain't got to worry about working. Heck, you don't even need to finish school. She could be in college. He could go to her parents and be like, yeah, she don't need to finish school. She ain't going to get no job after she get out anyway. Now, I'm not saying they're going to necessarily do that. I'm saying the ability is there. And she's just 19. Maybe she was a sophomore, going into her sophomore year at college or something. But she can just go be with some man who got it like that. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to take that woman who met a man who got it like that, and they're going to say, hey, women have only made this amount. Now, she didn't have to make a dime on record. But then they're going to say, hey, women have this wage gap that men need to concern themselves about. I ain't got nothing to do with her wage gap, okay? And truth be told, she's in a great position because she got a dude making, a huge amount of money per year, way more than the average person. And I'm supposed to be upset that there's a quote unquote wage gap. Now, maybe you meet a guy who's making $300,000 a year, but that don't necessarily mean you got to get out the workforce. She could technically be in the workforce, but she met the right guy at 19. He found her to be very beautiful and said, no, I'd rather you just go home, have my children, and let's take care of the household. That's what I want you focused on. That can happen. Now, the chances of that happening for a guy, because technically, it's America. Technically, could a 30-year-old woman meet some 19-year-old guy and say, hey, I'm making, heck, $350,000 a year. But you a handsome young stud. Okay? I don't need you worrying about the workforce. I don't need you doing all that. What I need you to do is go on home, pipe me down the way I need to be done. Okay? When I get pregnant, I'm going to take a leave. I'm going to rest at home with the child. But once 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is, I'm going back. I'm going to keep getting this money. And I need you as a man to protect it, provide, and even lead, but do it from the house. Now, can a man do that? Yeah, it could happen. It absolutely could happen. The same way I could go outside and find you a guy with no legs. Okay. That's not going to be that easy to run into. That is not going to be that easy to run into. Technically, yes, from a legal perspective, it can happen. But is that going to happen? Absolutely not. So men have no expectation of something like that. Okay, men got no expectation of something like that. I'm not finna be 19 and meet some woman making $300,000 a year and she gonna sweep me off my feet, quote unquote, and take care of me. Now, I'm not even saying that's gonna happen for most women, but women know it's a legitimate possibility that some of them will get scooped up. Now, if we look at stuff from a more realistic standpoint, you happen to meet a woman and she takes a liking to you, even though you're younger than her, and maybe you was only 19 at the time she was 30, but she just liked the way you are put together. Maybe that does happen. Okay, you might even get to have sex with this woman from time to time. But realistically, how is she gonna view you as a man? Well, he's 19, he's fun right now, but he ain't got no bag. I ain't marrying him. Okay. He can be the pipe cleaner for a while until I meet a man who's at my level or above. Because that's what's really gonna happen 9 times out of 10. And it's really more than 9 out of 10. Yeah, he cool, he fun. But once I meet a guy and I get into a relationship with this guy, I'm gonna put him to the side. And what he gonna do? He gonna accept that. It's just is what it is. That's how men gonna do. We just gonna accept it. Well, hey, at least I got the hit for a while. if she say, hey, I done met a man, I got to see how it's gonna be with him, to see where this is really gonna go to, because he's a man who actually got his life together. I'm not saying you ain't fun. I'm not saying I don't like being with you, but I got a man over here who got his life together. So guess what we about to do? We gonna put this on pause. And if it don't go no more, if it stops working with him, I'll call you. That's what I'm gonna do. If it stops working with him, I'll call you. What's the average guy gonna do? He gonna be like, okay, cool. Ooh, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? Just hit me up. I'm 19 years old. Let's see. And maybe he gonna hope that he get a call in 7, 8, 9 months. But if he does get a call, it could be a year later. He get a call. Yeah, it didn't work out with old boy. We back on. You good with that? Most guys gonna be like, yeah, it's all good. You ain't got to explain yourself. I'm not even tripping. Why? Because he's 20 years old. And he met a woman with some money. So he ain't finna say nothing. Some women be like, well, you threw me away. A long time ago. You hurt my feelings. You hurt my heart. I'm not going back to you. A young man ain't finna really do that. I ain't saying it couldn't happen, but it ain't likely. Now, the thing is, there are some men who make some really great money. There are people who become actors. There are people who go into the sports. For us as black men, that's gonna be more NFL, more NBA, And then there's other professional sports where you can make a whole lot of money in, that not the major sports, but there's other things that some black men would be able to do, and they'll make some major money. But all those black men will potentially pick up a woman. Now, she may not be a black woman, because black women love to harp on the ones who ain't black. Most of the brothers still mess with a black woman. Yes, he may give a white woman a chance. And my thing is, that's because black women fail. You've been around this brother all this time and you let him hook up with a white woman, that's your fault. That ain't the white woman's fault. It's your fault. So you get these men who are hyper earners. Okay? They multi-millions of dollars coming in. Okay? They getting 6-figure paychecks. I've heard like some of the guys who were big in the NFL, they was like, yeah, I had $20 this day. Then boom, I got that first NFL check. I got 6 figures in the bank. I ain't know what to do. I heard them tell their stories like this. And that's cool. Not hating on them. Glad they was able to do it. But they done took women off. They done took women out the workforce, or stopped the woman from even having to deal with going into the workforce, and they're benefiting from that. And then you have people say, well, no, there's a wage gap. Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. Normally, if a guy makes a stupendous amount of money, that could turn into multiple women not having a job. But I'm supposed to be concerned about a wage gap. Well, the average woman only makes 70 cents on the dollar when it comes to a mate man. We only make 77 cents on the dollar. Okay, you crying, but y'all are getting with these guys. Real talk. The women with the most money are women who've usually divorced some rich guy. If you see who the richest women are, you kind of run into women who've divorced some rich guy. That's kind of a very consistent thing. Okay? Them women may not have had a job since they was 22. But when they present stuff about the pay gap to you, they don't tell you all that. They just say the women ain't making this money in comparison to these men. Now, most people like to go with a white man because they don't want to compare themselves to black men. A lot of them don't want to do that because black men are men too. But no, these white men gonna make a little bit more money, so let's compare ourselves to them. And see, this is the thing. This is all about women being lazy. Now, I know that may sound harsh to some people, But I'm telling you from an honest perspective, because this is what they have told black men throughout the decades. Okay? It ain't like black men was just balling in this country. All right? We didn't just quote unquote start off with we just all balling at the end of the day. That's not a real thing, not a real representation of this country. And a lot of us, we had to deal with slavery. A lot of our families did actually go through slavery. You know, some people, a family were spared and y'all just didn't have to deal with that. You know, shout out to y'all for not having to deal with it. But if you ask around, like I did in my family, did our family actually go through slavery? Was we able to get past it? No, I can't say we didn't, y'all. Okay. I can't trace either side of my family further back than plantations. Just is what it is. Okay. So, you know, I asked the elders about it. Did we go through it? On both sides, I got a yes. Both sides. So it ain't like we was just balling. You know, we're being, but it ain't like we was just balling. But you know what they have consistently told black men as time went on? Y'all know it. What you need to do is pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That's what you need to do. Your problem is not an unfair economy. Your problem is you don't want to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Now, if you actually start talking about problems that black men have had to face due to the economy, they will say you have a victim mindset. No, you ain't got no victim mindset. They just gonna say you got a victim mindset. A victim mindset is a person who wants to always be a victim. That's a victim mindset. Now, I will say there's a lot of women out there with a victim mindset because they're always looking for some way to be a victim no matter what. Now, most black men that I've ever heard speak about anything from an economic standpoint, they're not speaking as a victim. They're not speaking as a person with a victim mentality. They're speaking of a person who has been a victim of a particular event and they simply want to be restored. It's totally different from having a victim mentality. All right. Now, reparations should come to me. I can tell you that from a personal standpoint. I should get reparations. Now, I want reparations. Does that mean I have a victim mentality? Absolutely not. But I do recognize there was some victimhood at a time. And I still want my reparations. Real talk. I want my check. I can't tell you about everybody else, but I'm always want my check till I get my check. Now, if I had a victim mentality, I would want my check plus a bunch of other stuff after I've already gotten mine. No, just give me my check and I'm good. That's real talk. It's a difference between having a victim mentality and being an actual victim. I have told y'all before, with the people who've been around for previous channels that I had, some of y'all are already aware. I've been robbed by the police. Okay? I don't have a victim mentality. I don't think next time I run into a cop, they're going to try to rob me again, but I've been robbed twice by the police. And even to this day, would I want my money back? Absolutely. Real talk. Yeah, I would want my money back. I ain't going to get it back, but I would want it back. Okay? Does that mean I have a victim mentality? No, but it does mean at a certain point I was a victim. Okay? And I don't have to be fake tough and act like I wasn't no victim. You know, like getting the money back that someone stole from me is bad for me. You know? Because these folks I hear you have you trying to feel bad for receiving what you're supposed to have. That's how folks play the game. They try to make you feel bad for receiving what you're supposed to have. So now they have consistently told black men, go pull yourself up by your bootstraps. So when people talk about a gender wage gap, and I'm not saying it didn't start from an unfair place, because the women have a desire to work outside the home years and years ago. I think over time that developed. That's what I honestly believe. Of course, when societies first started, you didn't have women who wanted to worry about working outside the home because it wasn't comfortable enough yet. Just is what it is. You think if y'all go to a city right now, you pick any place in America right now that's undeveloped, okay? You can put, let's say you put 2,000 men in this undeveloped location, okay? It's just nature out there, okay? It's absolute nature out there. They wives will go with them, okay? Matter of fact, let's make it easier. You got a bunch of guys, no children. There are no children, okay? The older guys who gonna help, regulate and instruct and all that type of stuff, all their kids is grown and gone. Ain't nobody coming there with there are no minors there. That's what I'm saying, y'all. There might be somebody's child there. Technically, it could be a 60-year-old man and maybe he got a 45-year-old son, but there are no minors going to this location. You take 2,000 men, their wives, nothing has been developed. Do y'all really believe women want to work side by side with men? Ain't nothing developed, which means what? The first thing you got to do is start building places and shelters for people to be housed. That's one of the first things you got to do. We got to build something so we just ain't outside. Y'all think women want to participate in that? I don't think so. Shout out to Gilgamy real quick. Let me see what Gilgamy is asking. He says, what if a young 19-year-old manifests? Okay. What if a young 19-year-old manifests meeting with Tracy Ellis Ross, Roger? He can make it. Look, man, any 19-year-old that can manifest meeting Tracy Ellis Ross, I think he needs to manifest a winning lottery ticket. That's what. If you can manifest a meeting with Tracy Ellis Ross, you'd be better off manifesting a winning lottery ticket. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. All right, so yeah, let's say we got 2,000 men out there, y'all. There's no minors. Okay, there are no minors at all. There's 2,000 men. We are totally an undeveloped nature. Okay? What we finna actually do? Because as men, we understand the first order business, we out here with 2,000 men. Let's say every single one of them had a woman with them. So now we got 4,000 people because 2,000 men brought 2,000 women with them. Now, the first thing we got to do is come up with a place for 4,000 people to have some shelter. And it needs to happen now because we can't control weather. The weather going to be what the weather going to be. That's all it is to it. The weather going to be what the weather going to be. So what are men going to do? Well, y'all, we got to come up with some shelter. It is what it is. We outside. We got to come up with some shelter. So there's things you need immediately. There's going to be some shelter needed. And guess what? People got to eat. We can't wait till 3 weeks to figure out what we going to eat. We got to figure out how to start eating today. Okay? So y'all, who y'all thinking doing what jobs? So, people talk about this gender wage gap as if men had this system in place to keep women out of work. No, I understand over time women wanted to start working outside the home, but let's be realistic. As society developed, women wasn't trying to work outside no home. They trying to keep it right there. And of course, your first society is going to start with farming and whatnot. They trying to be on that farm. They is not trying to leave that farm talking about I'm finna go get a job and get out here and get work. They was not doing that. I totally get over time why some of them wanted to come into the workforce. I get that over time. Yeah, because y'all got air conditioning now. Okay? That's why I want to work outside my home, because y'all got air conditioning. I want to go to that job, sit in a nice little office, a nice cool place, where I can adjust the AC and everything's fine. Yeah. We got telephones now. Sure, I want to come to work in the office. Okay. But what you don't see, y'all, and I'm not saying you can't even find it, because due to certain people's personal economy, you can find a small amount of women in a lot of areas where it's still almost all men. Okay, but you can find women there. Now you think about let's do this. Let's use UPS, FedEx, big major delivery companies. Will you find some women working them trucks? Yeah, now, sure. Do women really want those jobs? Not really. Some of them are just taking it for the money. If you got to get out there and deliver them packages, that's a whole different world than getting in some office and making decisions about what other people got to do. That's a whole different world. Okay? So you got women who argue about, no, there's a wage gap, but they want the job where they get to sit in the office and decide what other people gonna do, but don't never want to go through the process of being the guy on the truck. Okay? What about that guy? I'm not saying you don't see more of those women doing that type of stuff now, because, hey, that's the way the economy has went. And some of them get paid very well. So now you got women who take more of those jobs because they have to. And why do you see women taking those jobs now? Because they ain't got no husband. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. All right? A lot of them taking jobs now because they ain't got no husband. I'm going to get out here and deliver these packages now. Why? Because I got to. And when it comes down to it, there's women who are beautiful enough. And I'm just saying this because it's real, y'all. There's women who are beautiful enough that they just ain't got to worry about working outside the home. Just is what it is. Then you got women who are uglier. I'm not saying you ugly. I'm saying you're uglier than the women who don't have to worry about working outside the home. There's women who are so beautiful, they never got to worry about working outside the home because there's always a man willing to do for them. Okay? Now, women, I'm pretty sure if they hear that, they think I'm talking about physical. Now, it's a lot of women who don't necessarily have the physical beauty of some other woman, but the whole package of who they are as a person is so beautiful, their husband don't want them to worry about working outside the home. And guess what? It don't mean the husband rich. It's going to include rich men, of course, but that don't mean the guy has to be rich. I done met plenty of men who are regular, everyday men, don't make six figures, but they create a situation and they don't even like the idea of their wife working outside the home. It's part of their protection package. My wife ain't got to work outside the home because I'm a protect her from the world. And I have no issue with that as a man. Now, that's a very common thing amongst black men, even though people act like it's not. That's a very common thing about black men. Black men don't really make their wives work outside the home. And I can tell you straight up, I ain't never seen a black man with a wife who made her work outside the home. I ain't never seen it. Now, just because he ain't no rich man, he may not be sitting on 2, 3, 4, 5 million. He might just be sitting on a regular job. But y'all know what? I done known some people who don't work for the railroad. Okay? I done known some folks who worked at the hospital. I done known some folks who, they might be lawyers, and then you start getting up into some higher level incomes. But I've known some people who just worked at a factory, and ain't none of their wives had to go work. I'm not saying I ain't met some men who got working wives, because of course I have. But I ain't never seen one where their wife gotta work. I ain't seen that. I don't know a black man who gonna make his wife have a job. I don't know any black man that's gonna do that. I don't know any black man who doesn't have an understanding that if his wife quit, he ain't gonna do nothing to make her go back. Every black wife that I know of, and this is where the conversation could get a little dicey. Okay, or I'm gonna say it like this, because it ain't, because sometimes black men are married to a woman that ain't necessarily black. I don't know any wife of a black man that got to go to work. Okay, let me throw it out just like that. I don't know any wife of a black man that has to go to work. I know women with jobs and they married, but I don't know any black woman who got to go to work and she married. She can quit that job anytime she wants to. And guess what? She can have a good reason, or she can have a bad reason, or she can have truthfully no reason at all. And what is the dude gonna do? He's just gonna make an adjustment. That's what it's gonna really come down to. He gonna have a conversation, see what's going on in her head, and then he gonna adjust. But what he ain't gonna do is make her go back to work. I ain't never seen that. I ain't never even heard of that. Okay, nobody done told, yeah, I quit my job. I told my husband that he made me go back. He made me go back. What is up to do? My husband made me go back. I ain't seen that. What I have seen is men who got complaining wives and they ask their wife, well, why are you still working there? Y'all would not believe how many times I heard a man tell his wife, why are you still working there? Because wives would do something that they do regularly. Y'all know how women will vent sometimes. And sometimes it's just to get it out. They don't really want no solution. They just trying to get out their feelings. Okay? They just trying to get it. And shout out to 414 Money. He say, I'm that husband, which I would expect nothing less. I would expect nothing less. Because, wait a minute. I got to see how you technically mean it. What context did you mean that in? Did you mean you going to make her go back to work? Because you could have meant that. But I'm saying I ain't never seen a brother make his wife go back to work. I ain't never seen it. I have seen a ton say, well, because the woman be venting. Okay. Now 414 Money say she going back to work. Oh. Well, we'll see. That's all I can say. We'll see. He say, hey, ain't no free lunch over here. But yeah, real talk, y'all. I ain't never seen a husband make his wife go back to work. Now I've seen men tell their wives, well, why are you still working there? Because the woman's quote unquote venting about the job. She's venting about this person. Y'all know how women talk. LaToya get on my nerves. Every time I come to work, she doing X, Y, and Z. Letitia is driving me crazy. I can't stand her. Mercedes keep acting a fool every time she come into the office. Liz won't act right. She always out here in these tiny clothes and trying to do this, that, and that. Y'all know how the women be. So I've seen men be like, well, why you still working there? If they driving you crazy like that, why you working there? Why don't you just leave? And I haven't seen him where he forbid her from getting another job as that's what she want to do. His whole thing is just, why are you working there? If they're bothering you that much, why are you working there? Just go work somewhere else. Stop coming back. And I can tell you one of my close friends, a proud story, I would say. Not I'm saying from my perspective, because that's my friend. Okay. His wife was complaining about her job. She wanted to change her scheduling. Shout out to Chef Mike's Roundtable. He said, I'm telling mine to quit right now. Shout out to Chef Mike's Roundtable. he in the midst of it right now. I'm telling mine to quit right now. But yeah, one of my closer friends, his wife is complaining about what's going on at the job. The whole thing, she don't like them people that she work with. They won't change her schedule. She's been trying to get it changed for I don't know if my memory is correct, maybe a month and a half or so. She tell him, he say to her, go to your job tomorrow and tell them my husband said, y'all have to change my schedule or this is my 2 weeks notice. Y'all let it be whatever y'all want it to be. But my husband said, see, she was having a problem with her supervisors too. So he was like, no, we're not going to play that game. Not with my wife. So you go tell them at the job tomorrow. He made it very specific for her. He said, you're not asking no questions or nothing like that about what you can and can't do. The only thing is, are they going to give you the schedule that you want or is this your 2 week notice? He said, that's the only question you have. You go there tomorrow, you tell them what it is. And it came down to take your pick, y'all. This is my 2 weeks notice because I'm leaving, or y'all are changing my schedule to the schedule I've been asking y'all for. He said there is no in between. If anybody got an issue with that, y'all can go through the trouble of calling my husband if y'all want to, but he's already made his decision. And y'all know how great she felt once she was able to go to that job and telling people that. She didn't have to tell nobody off. She didn't have to curse nobody out. She didn't have to get into it with a bunch of women cackling and doing all kinds of crazy, nasty stuff. She went up there and just told them what her husband said. And all of a sudden, the schedule that she wanted immediately opened up and it got changed for her. There was no battle. Okay? Now, the whole thing is, how does all this stuff affect wages? Well, we got women who ain't got to work. Okay? We got women who don't even have to work. So now, if you're complaining about a wage gap, I think it's fair to say the reason women have a wage gap issue is because they're lazy. I think this is very fair to say. Okay? Now, do I really mean some woman who got a husband who ain't got to work, is being lazy? No, not for real. Not for real. But as a black man, they've been telling us to pull, go pull yourself up by your bootstrap. That's what they've been telling us. They've been making that real clear. Okay. Go pull yourself up by your bootstrap. So now, as a black man, I think the best thing to tell somebody who got an issue about what they're making is, if I don't really want to hear you talk about it, what you need to do is pull yourself up by your bootstrap. That's what, if I don't really mess with you like that, I'm probably gonna say something like that to you. What you need to do is pull yourself up by your bootstrap. See, that's the problem. You're lazy. Okay? If you wasn't so lazy, you wouldn't have these complaints. That's what the situation is. You just a little lazy. Because that's what black men have heard. We done heard it for decades. Probably centuries. If you don't like what you make, pull yourself up by your bootstrap. And they told us to do it, and they didn't give us no boots. We didn't even have no boots, and they told us to put. Literally didn't have no boots. Y'all remember back in the day when slavery was quote unquote officially ended in America? Okay, all you had was what you had on your back. That's it. Didn't nobody give you no boots. Okay, there was literally slaves out there who just got free who didn't have boots. That was part of the thing that black men had to fight through. We literally didn't have any boots. Literally. And not just figuratively. We didn't have boots literally. And you know what they told us today? Got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And even though I said it more plenty of times in the past, I'm going to say it on this channel too, because I think it's really something black people need to think about and really give honor to. All those black men who got free and swallowed their pride to go back to the very same plantation they got free from and made a deal with the landowner, i.e. former slave master, so they can do what's good for their family. Okay? Just so they can do what's good for their family. If them men didn't make that sacrifice, we not where we are. Wherever you happen to be, if them men didn't make that sacrifice, we not where we are. For all of us who done been through the slavery. Now, maybe some of y'all ain't have to go through it. You know, shout out to your family if they never had to go through it. I can't say that about mine. All right? So shout out to the men who made them tough decisions to go work for Massa, even though he ain't Massa no more. Now he's just an employer. You know, real talk. So you get these women that don't have to work. Now, I talked about the more glorious side of the women who don't have to work. But now we got a bunch of other women who just don't want to work. Okay. Now that's a different breed. We got the women who are in position and they are beautiful enough that they just don't have to work. It's that simple at the end of the day. You know? And shout out to the black husbands out there who got a wife that's beautiful enough to not have to work. Because I'm not just talking physical beauty. A lot of them, you know, because they with a black man and he understands that's his wife, she ain't got to work. She beautiful enough, she ain't got to. She want to, she can, but she ain't got to. I'm going to take care of my baby. You know, plenty of brothers with that attitude, even though we don't get credit for it. Nowhere near the way we should anyway. But then you got a bunch of women out there who just don't want to work. And the truth is they too ugly to marry. You know, just is what it is, y'all. Yeah, they too ugly to marry. It's a lot of women out here complaining about working. It's a lot of women out here on the internet right now. And it's the very day you could go watch a bunch of women talking about, yeah, I'll act right now. I'll be submissive now. I'll have a nice attitude now. We can have sex all the times you want to have sex now. It's a lot of old bras out there saying what they'll do now. Now, usually these going to be women who are past 30. They're not going to be at a great age to become a mother. These are usually women who are past 30. Heck, some of them already done got kids by themselves and they looking for some relief at the end of the day. Real talk. They are looking for relief. All right. They believe they're getting underpaid and they looking for relief and they just want some man to come help them. See, the thing is, all these women are included in the stats. You know, you talking about the gender wage gap, you include what women have made, and sometimes the answer is just zero. And a lot of times, some men have in a position where they can afford not to make any money. And then they say, well, you know, we got this wage gap that we need to do something about because these women ain't making money. Well, some of them got husbands, they ain't got to make none. Okay? Ain't too many husbands out there that ain't got to make no money. Shout out to Kevin 3905 one more time. He say, Roger, stop talking about my whole, mistress like that. Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to you. But yeah, you know, and you know what though? Real talk. We got some mistresses out there too. There are some men who got it so well together that they mistress ain't got to work. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. They mistress ain't got to work. Okay. Okay. And then you got some other mistresses. They ain't trying to take no job making so much money because they getting enough out the guy. Okay. So, hey, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. So women have a lot of ways of coming up with some bread. Now, as men, it ain't that likely for us to live this type of lifestyle. It just, you got to go get you a job. Okay. You know, ugly women working. Some ugly women out there working because they got to. As men, it's a rare man that ain't got to go work. That's a rare man that ain't got to go work. Real talk. Okay. Yeah, and somebody may say, well, it's homeless men out there that ain't got no job. Talk to a lot of homeless men, you're going to start finding out them guys are not trying to be a part of society. Okay? They have their reasons. You may not like their reasons. You may not agree with their reasons. But it's not the men ain't working because they just can't find work. A lot of homeless men, if you actually talk to them, they're not trying to participate in society. And that's what it come out to. I ain't ran into a whole bunch of homeless men who just couldn't get a job. Okay. And some of them gonna claim that, y'all, but you gotta look at who you talking with. You know, if a white man is homeless and telling you ain't nobody gonna hire him, do you believe that? Let's keep it real. Do you believe that? Do you believe any white man who's telling you won't nobody give him a job? Do you believe that? Because if you believe that, I'm talking about I got some beachfront property in Iowa, and I will give you a deal. Okay, it'll be a steal. Real talk, y'all. Real talk. You know, I got 40 acres for you, man. Real talk, man. You can do whatever you want with it. You know, and I'm willing to let it go for about 50,000. All 40 acres. Deal of a lifetime. Beachfront properties, right? Real talk. I wouldn't let it all go. So yeah, we got this wage gap thing where people don't pay attention to the fact it's a bunch of women that ain't got to work. They just ain't got to. You know, I ain't mad at them that they ain't got to work. I think it's great that they don't have to work. I'm glad they with some guy who like them enough that they ain't got to work. That's a great and wonderful thing. But then you talk about the wage gap like I'm supposed to care because there's some women out here who quote unquote not making the same as men. And I've asked, I get this stuff. I'm pretty sure I have. Because I don't think I let no woman off the hook without asking them, what job can I get as a man that they're paying women less money? I literally ask women stuff like this. I can remember some situations where some of these women mind was just so blown they didn't know what to do. They act like they got hit with a bag of rocks. You know, some of them was just hurt by it. Some of them actually went into some form of rage behind that question because it was just a simple question, and I wasn't being like crazy. And then I just said no. I mean, real talk, because I am a man. You know, I wasn't trying to quote unquote trigger them. I just said, no, real talk, I am a man. I'm listening to you. I'm not saying you wrong. I just want to know where I can go get this job. You say there's a job I can get that pays men more than they pay the women. I ain't even trying to argue with you. I just want to know what the job is so I can go get it. You know, because it's been some women who got mad when I asked that question. They got mad. And I just say, no, I'm asking. You know, they think I'm trying to be a jerk. I say, no, I'm not asking to be a jerk. I'm asking because I'm a man. What's the job? You know, and I guess it just hadn't crossed their mind. If you're gonna try to convince a man that there's jobs out there that you can get, they're not paying the women the same thing as the men. Do you think for a second I don't want to know what that job is? Okay. I want to know what the job is. Shout out to Kevin 3905. One more again. He said your facts ain't got nothing to do with their feelings. Hey man, I'm just trying to figure out what the job is. Okay. Cause I done talked to all kind of women about this stuff. I done dealt with the black women who's feminists. I done dealt with the white women who's feminists, all kinds of folks in certain positions, even up to like folks that was PhDs, folks that's in education, all that type of stuff. And I just simply asked them, what is the job so I can get it? I'm not, look, we could put this conversation to the side for now. If there's a job paying men more than they're paying women, I'm a man. I'm literally curious about what the job is, and I would like to apply for it. I'm not even trying to be funny right now. I want to apply for that job. And they really get upset. But my thing is, if you present something like that to a man, and I am a man, is it strange for me to ask what the job is? Why wouldn't I want to know what that job is? I'm a dude. Okay. You telling me I can get more money just because I'm a dude? Yeah, I want to know what that job is. Of course. Okay. Yeah, I got to know what that job is. You know. Now, there's some women who don't want to accept certain things, you know. And I have said very basic things to these people. Yeah, I told y'all before. It was a billionaire that I used to listen to. Okay. He said you want to explain stuff at least 7 times to people at a 4th grade level. So I actually try not to make stuff sound so complicated. Okay. Now maybe I could make it sound a little bit more complicated, but I try to talk at a level that the average person gonna get. I'm trying to, speak at that 4th grade level or whatever. Okay, that's what I be on. Make it real easy, real plain. Everybody can understand. No real confusion. Okay. Yeah. And heck, I got a decent vocabulary. I ain't saying I got no stupendous vocabulary. Hey, my vocabulary ain't nothing compared to Black Uru. The way he be coming up with words. Shout out to Black Uru. The way he be coming up with words. So I ain't got the quote unquote mightiest vocabulary. So I'm talking to people. A lot of times they be these college educated people. They done did this and did that. And I'm just trying to have conversation where I can understand what's going on. Okay. I'm just trying to understand what's going on at the end of the day. And shout out to Kevin 3905. It's always good to see. He's asking y'all. He said Cash App. The Cash App here, y'all, is $ the Roger Report, y'all. That's my Cash App. If you want to know, that's what it is. Okay. If you want to know, that's what it is. $ the Roger Report. It's actually scrolling on the screen, y'all. And my message that while I'm giving praise to whoever is the sponsor of the stream is right at the front of that, y'all. $ the Roger Report. Thank you very much for asking. Appreciate it big time. Appreciate it big time. Real talk. So yeah, we got these women who ain't got to work at all because they got these husbands. And nowadays, some of them even got boyfriends because women are trying to promote this stay-at-home girlfriend. Now, I don't advise men to be in that position. If you ain't gonna marry her, man, don't let her in the house. Real talk, y'all. It ain't worth the trouble. Okay, it is not worth the trouble. If you don't like her enough to marry her, she can just be somewhere else. It just is what it is. All right, she can be somewhere else. Real talk. Okay. Now, they present this cash. I mean, they present this financial wage gap as like men are doing something about it. And you know what's really crazy about this stuff? They want to talk to regular everyday men who got a job. They don't really go after the employers like that. They be trying to talk to you as a man like you responsible for a wage gap. Shawty, I just show up to work. That's what I do. Okay. Baby, I got a fast food job. I ain't got nothing to do. I ain't got nothing to do with this. Okay. I ain't got nothing to do with no wage gap. I showed up to work. That's all I put into the wage gap. I showed up to work so I can get mine. That's what I did. Shout out to 414 Money. He hit the nail on the head. He said they're dry begging. Yep. Because you telling some everyday regular brother who don't have no Fortune 500 company, sometimes it's happening with a manager or something like that. I don't see them. Did y'all ever see? I ain't never seen it. Maybe y'all have seen it. Have y'all ever seen a woman even bother a branch manager about a pay gap? Okay, I don't see them talking to people with the power to really change this stuff. But they will bother the everyday brother who got a job, not necessarily even in management. I don't even see them bothering managers too much about it. You talking to a dude that's not even in management talking about it's a pay gap. And I told you I done had a bunch of jobs. So I've literally been at work myself, not even just seeing other people do it. I've been at work myself. We on lunch and women's talking to me about a pay gap. I'm like, shawty, I'm in here with you. What you talking about? I'm literally in here with you. You think I got something to do with a pay gap? Why are you talking to me about this pay gap? I'm in here with you. Okay? And I ain't got no man who finna look out for me because I don't feel like coming to work. You can stay home if you want to. I ain't got no man that I can be like, hey, I'm a little short on my rent. Can you cover it for me? I don't have that type of stuff. Now, it's women that got upset when I started saying stuff like that too, y'all. I'm gonna just keep it real. It's women who got upset when I started saying stuff like that. Because I understand women have advantages that men don't seem to have from a general standpoint. So, you know, if I don't pay my phone bill, y'all know what happened with my phone? Guess what happened with my phone if I don't pay my phone bill, y'all? They turn my phone off. Okay? That's what happens if I don't pay my phone bill. Now, what happens with a lot of women who don't pay their phone bill? They call a dude and say, could you pay my bill for me? Or can you give me the money so I can pay my bill? Now, my phone just off. I'm being too irresponsible, ain't paying attention. You know, my phone just go off. Okay? Man, few months back, y'all, I don't remember exactly what it was, but a few months back, you know, a few months back, I forgot to pay my phone bill. Y'all know what they did? They just turned it off. That's what that's what they did. They ain't say nothing to me like, you know, is you having some trouble? They didn't ask me, is I'm gonna be okay? Is you gonna be okay, sir? Is you gonna be okay? Nothing like that happened, y'all. Nobody asked me, did my financial situation change? Nobody said nothing to me. They just turned it off. That's what they did. And you know what I did? I realized my phone was off. You know what I said? Oh, that's right. I ain't paid my bill. Let me go pay. I didn't call nobody, look for no help. I didn't start praying money just gonna show up on its own. None of that. I just said, oh, I forgot to pay my bill. I better pay it. Okay? I better pay it. That's what I said. I better pay it. Okay? And that's something that happened to me within, I forget what I think it was within the last 6 months. I forgot to pay the bill. They turned that thing off. Okay, that's what they did. See, that's what happened when I don't pay my bill. Women don't pay their bill. They just call somebody and ask for some help. It is what it is. But they think I'm supposed to be worried about a wage gap. Okay, I'm supposed to worry about a wage gap. Okay, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to worry about a wage gap. Okay, it's women out there, you know, some of them shaking a tail feather and they getting some extra money for their rent. Okay, ever since I ever had my first apartment, y'all, ain't nobody ever helped me with no rent. Okay, talk about the first place I ever rented, man. Ain't nobody helped me with no rent. Okay. Now times have changed. I'm not in that same spot no more, but didn't nobody help me with no rent. I was broke. I was struggling. Didn't nobody help me with no rent. Y'all know what happened to me when I ain't pay rent? Sometimes I paid too late where now I had to pay a late fee with the rent. So not only did I have to pay the rent, I had to pay more money because I was so short on money that now I got to pay more money to pay the money that I was supposed to pay because I ain't paid it at the right time. So now the rent just got more expensive because I'm having money problems. That's what I found to be true. As a man, when you start having money problems, they charge you more money for being broke. Did y'all catch that? They charge me more money for being broke. Look, man, I'm broke. Okay. Can I get some slack? Well, I'm telling you what you can get. Here, you can get a bill increase. That's what you can get. You can get a bill increase. I ain't never got a break when I was broke because I was broke. Okay, I don't remember no. Well, I ain't gonna say never. But realistically, y'all, I can't remember a bunch of people just, hey, he broke, he's struggling. Let's lay off of him. Now I got charged more money because I was broke. So I told y'all I ain't come from no money. Okay, I ain't come from no money. We had to go earn it. All right. Okay, we had to go earn it. All right. No woman put me up for a while. Okay. No woman put me up for a while. I couldn't just go to some woman's place and just be there for 6 months while I get it together. Now, I've seen women do this. Okay, y'all. I've seen women do this. I know women personally who've done it. I know women who I don't know personally who've done it. They've been able to go somewhere 6 months, year, whatever it took, get themselves how they want to be, and then they can go back into the world. But, you know, I wasn't able to do all that. Kevin, you on the road today. Shout out to Kevin, 3905. He say, what? Roger didn't tap into that black girl magic? Well, I can tell you this. I don't know what magic it was, but if I couldn't pay my bills, somehow they magically got more expensive. That's what I'm gonna tell you, y'all. If I couldn't pay my bill, they magically got more expensive. I don't know who magic that is. But that was the magic I was tapping into. My bills would magically be more expensive. My money stayed the same, but my bills magically became more expensive. That's the magic I got exposed to. And women got the nerve to talk to me about a wage gap. Okay. See, I tell you, I done went to places, I done went through little seminars, I done had little things, people meeting, they talk, and we talk about what's going on in the world and how we make this better and how we make that, how we improve this, how we improve that. I done sat through them conversations, y'all. Not that I ain't gonna do it again, but I've been sitting through them conversations, man. You know what I saw? I saw women get in trouble and they just asked men to bail them out, and men to come through, and men will bail them out. Now, sometimes it was their daddy. A lot of times it was somebody. I mean, I'm gonna keep it real. Sometimes women had to do something strange for some change, as they say, or it was just a guy who liked the woman and just, hey, you can go and have it. You know what I'm saying? Because I just don't want to see you out there bad. With me, bills just increased. That's all it was. You were supposed to pay X amount of dollars in rent, but you didn't pay by the 5th. So now it's $50 more. Now it's $100 more. This is your late fee. We still want that rent. We know you broke. Okay. We accept that you broke. And the reason we let you stay here because you broke is because we make more money for you being broke. That's the world I come from. Okay. That's the world I come from, y'all. Okay. We know you broke. We want you to be here because you ain't so broke that we don't get paid, but you are broke enough that we keep making extra money because you broke. Because we know you gonna pay. You solid. You solid. You know what I'm saying? Now we gonna treat you like you not solid because you don't pay on time. But you solid because you pay us every time. Plus we get extra. I had all kinds of talks with people, y'all. And some people trying to tell me, you're not a stable renter. I ain't stable. I pay the rent plus the late fee. What you talking about? How stable do you need me to be? I'm paying the rent plus the late fee. Okay. That's the way it was. Okay. Shout out to Better You, man. Shout out to Better You. He say, oh, damn, that happened to you too, bro. Say, it ain't just me out here, y'all. It ain't just me. Okay. It ain't just me. But now women want me to concern myself about a pay gap. And it's crazy. I've been hearing about this pay gap thing since honestly, I think I first started hearing about it in high school, truth be told. If I'm being for real, I think it was like I think I was in high school. That's when I first started hearing about this pay gap thing. And I had all these situations and talked to all these people, even professors, who talk about this wage gap. And I'd be like, man, don't nobody bail me out of nothing. I'm just broke and I'm paying more money because I'm broke. I see, they have these conversations, and I just start throwing out real stuff, and people get mad at me, y'all. I don't even know why they get mad. I'm just telling you real stuff. They saying, it's a wage gap, and what men got to do, and y'all got to let some of this stuff go so women can get their fair share and all that. And I'd be like, hey, look, let me tell you some real life stuff about what's going on with me. Okay. I ain't got it like that. Okay. I pay extra money because I'm broke. Now, I didn't say it in those terms, but that's what I'm saying. I pay extra money when I'm broke. Okay. I don't come for money. I'm out here struggling, trying to get ahead. Okay. When I fall behind, I got to pay these people more money. I got to pay the bill plus the late fees they got. Y'all ever had y'all phone go off back in the day? Y'all ever had your phone go off back in the day? Where it was like, now I don't know, it's okay. You already behind on your bill. You mess around, your phone done went off. So now it's like, not only do you got to come up with last month's bill, you got to pay the previous month bill too, because you was late on that. And now you got to pay this activation fee. So it's like another $50, another $75. They just throw it on because we got to quote unquote activate your phone. Now, what do it take to activate a phone? You go into the system and flick a switch, you know what I'm saying? But y'all gonna charge me another $75 to have that switch flick. Why? Because I ain't got no dude I can call and get my phone bill paid. Okay, the women did it all the time. I see them do it all the time. My phone went off. I was screwed because I got to pay this month, last month, and the activation fee. That's what happened to me. And women sit there trying to talk to me about a wage gap, and I'm trying to explain to them about what's really going on out here in the world. I don't see what you're talking about. And if I really get deep into it, maybe men should get paid more money because we got to pay a whole lot of stuff that women ain't got to pay. Okay, if you really want to go there with, we got to pay stuff you ain't got to pay. We go out on the date, and I've literally told this to women. We go out on the date. Okay, you want you a nice date. You spend heck cheap date. You spend $100. I got to spend $100. You ain't got to spend no $100. But you talking about you only make 77 cents on the dollar. Okay, I got to spend $100 to go on the date. All right, and that's a cheap date. Okay, you ain't spend that $100. What you need to make the most money for? Y'all, I have had some women go through the roof when I've told them that. You want you a man that make good money, right? Yeah. You want a man that make the same amount of money as you or more, right? Yeah. Women say that consistently. And I'd be like, well, you know what? When we date, I got to pay for the date. Okay. Even if I try to make it a cheap date, I still got to pay for the date. Okay. But you know what? A lot of y'all don't want no cheap dates. Y'all want really nice dates. Well, of course we want a nice date, especially if it's a first date. Okay, cool. Right. So y'all want these nice first dates that I got to pay for as the man. All right. So if you really tripping about the wage gap, don't I need to make more money than you? If I got to take you on a date, don't I need to make more money than you? We get married. And there's couples that do this, y'all. We get married. They quote unquote separate the bills. But then the women get the smaller bills and the men get the more expensive bills. So I got to pay the mortgage and you ain't got to worry about the mortgage. But I should make more money than you. Now I'm not saying for a second that anybody should be paying somebody less money who's willing to do the same job. I am not saying that. But I've engaged with these arguments over this gender wage gap that ain't never made no sense to me when I start looking at the real world. It don't make no sense. The man only make more money because he show up more than you. Women hate that one. And I'm like, how you mad at a man because he came to work on a holiday and you wouldn't? You don't want to work on a holiday. The men be there on the holiday. Okay? It's women that work holidays too. Yeah, but consistently men work holidays. Why? Because we got to pay for you being off on the holiday. Why I got to work a holiday? Because you want to be off on a holiday and you want to spend money. So I got to work on a holiday. I got to get that little time and a half. That time and a half, that half, I'm not making no extra money. That half going to you because you want to spend money because you want to be off on a holiday. What is you talking about? So I show up to work during the holidays more than you. Okay? Now, since I'm a man, I'm a man. I can't take 3 days off of my 5-day work week 2 times out the month. So instead of working 20 days, well, I don't work 14 days. I done work 14 days instead of 20. Now I'm short on rent. I can't call some man up and say, hey, baby, I'm short on rent. Well, what's going on, baby? Well, them other weeks, remember I took 3 days off for such and such, and then that other week I took 3 days off for such and such. So it just been kind of caught up with me. I'm trying to pay my bills. I'm a little bit short. So now I got to pay for my rent, and I got to help you pay your rent because you ain't go to work. Now, people can act like this ain't a real thing, but this is a very real thing. In America, this is a very real thing. Women will not go to work, come up short when it comes to paying some bills, or they see this coat they want, instead of paying their bill, they got to get that coat. So now what I got to do? Because I'm going to spend my money on this coat. That's what I'm doing. That's an executive decision I'm making. I'm spending money on this coat, but this coat $100. So I need an extra $100 to fall out the sky. So what they going to do? They going to call a man. Hey, baby, I need $100 to pay my phone bill. She got the money to pay the bill. She got it. She just ain't going to pay that bill. She want to buy that coat. And that's how it go. Now, she done decided I'm buying the coat. So what she do? She take her $100, she buy the coat. And then she call you and say, baby, I need $100 so I can pay my phone bill. Your phone bill was $69.99. So not only is she going to pay that phone bill, you got to treat her to another lunch. That's what you got to do. You got to treat her to lunch because she came up short on money. Because she ain't going to say, my phone bill is $69.99. She ain't going to tell you that. She going to say, I need $100 to pay my phone bill. She going to quote unquote not technically lie to you. I never told you my phone bill was $100. So you later on down the road, you see a bill at her house or something. You told me your bill was $100. I never told you my bill was $100. I said, can I have $100 so I can pay my phone bill? I never said my bill was $100. Okay. Well, why you asked for $100? Well, because I was out that day and I needed to go sit down and eat somewhere. I was out. I needed the extra $30 so I could stop by Chili's and get me something to eat. That's why I need the extra $30. What, I'm not worth $30? And try to get you into a whole argument about what she worth. I ain't worth $30. $30? You asked me for $100. Well, only 30 was for me, so the 70 don't count. The phone bill was $69.99. $70 that don't really count. You really only gave me $30. I gave you $100. Now, when you think about it, you really only gave me $30. But somehow, as a man in society, I'm supposed to be concerned about a wage gap. That's what I'm supposed to be concerned about. What do we need to do so these women can get paid? Man, they already getting paid. If I take the job, they're going to pay me $20 an hour. If she takes the job, they're going to pay her $20 an hour. Why am I worried about a wage gap? Okay? If I take this job, it only pays $14 an hour. If I take it, they only giving me 14. If she take it, they giving her 14. It is what it is. Now you got this job over here. Maybe you got a job they will pay you $55 an hour. Okay? $55 an hour. But if she take it, she gonna get that same 55. What we talking about? Okay? What we talking about? All right. Shout out to Kevin one more time. Kevin 3905 say, I see what happened to Roger last channel. Roger out here snitching on these women. Well, Lord knows I don't call myself snitching. I just be trying to look at things from a realistic perspective and share with other people. That's all I be doing. I'm just trying to share a perspective with other people. Okay. And you know what? I consistently see women who got an issue with the wage gap. They don't talk to the managers, man. They don't talk to the branch managers. They don't talk to the vice presidents and all that type of stuff. I'm not saying ain't nobody doing nothing from like a congressional standpoint or all that. But I'm just saying you don't really see women talking to no boss at no job. I don't care what your position is. You don't really see no woman at no company talking about y'all need to pay us more money because of X, Y, and Z. You don't see that happening. You know, they'll talk to a dude in their same position, but they ain't gonna talk to nobody who got some power to really do something about it. They ain't gonna talk. They want to hype you up. They want you to go in there and say, "Hey, man, I don't like how y'all treating these women." Okay, these women out here doing a great job, and I don't like how y'all treating them. Okay, you know. Y'all need to represent a little bit better, man. I got daughters, man. I got daughters. They gonna have jobs one day. You know, y'all need to do this a little bit better than what y'all doing. All right. So now when somebody got to get fired because all this nonsense coming up, there's been a lot of nonsense, being talked about around here lately. Yeah. Now they want you on the chopping block because they ain't gonna say nothing to them people themselves. They want you to do it, and you sitting there with getting paid just like they getting paid, talking about women need to make more money. You do look kind of slow. I ain't gonna even lie to you. You look kind of slow. You over there arguing that women need to be paid more money, and your coworker who got the same job you got getting paid the same amount of money you getting paid, and you got the nerve to tell somebody, "Hey, they need to make more money." Why? A lot of bosses could shut down that whole thing just by saying that one word. Why? Okay. What they need to get paid more for. Okay. Now, are there a few things out there that women can get, that men can get that's going to pay far more than women? Let's think about that, y'all. Let's think about that. A woman ain't going to necessarily make it in the NBA because she's a woman. Men in the NBA get paid tens of millions of dollars. Sometimes they get hundreds of millions of dollars in contract. Now, could women earn the same money in sports? Yes, they could. But they would have to sell the sport. People would have to want to watch the games on television. People would want to have to buy tickets to their seats. Seats to their stadium to watch the games. They would have to sell a lot of merchandise. Are they available? Is it available in this country for women to do all this stuff? Yes, it is available. And if you talk about society, there are more women than men. So can women support sports the same way men have supported sports? And players can make they can get a contract where it's $200 million in contract money available. Can women do that? They absolutely could. Let's keep it real. Women could do that. It's more them than us. Real talk. Okay. We just support the men that we like. Now I'm just gonna keep that real right there. We support the men that we like. All right. Right now, men support LeBron James playing basketball. They support him playing basketball. They support him so much. Not only will they watch a game on TV, because you got that crowd, you got another crowd that will also buy some merchandise with LeBron James on it. Okay. Then you got another crowd that would even not just watch him on TV, not just buy some merchandise. They're going to take the family to the game. He going to go to the game, going to take his girlfriend to the game, his wife to the game. You know, if they've been together long enough, they might have some kids and might be taking the kids to the game too. He's supporting LeBron James to be in position to make that type of bread. All right. Can women do that? Yes, they can. It is totally 100% illegal for them to do that. Okay. It's 100% legal for them to do that. 100% legal. Can they take their husbands to the game? Yeah, technically they could. Technically they could. Okay. You know, Angel Reese is popular amongst black women, you know. Shout out to 414 Money. He said, ain't nobody paying to see 20 me bounds. Now I'm going to say shout out to Angel Reese. I think that comment was a shot at her, but shout out to Angel Reese. You know what? Real talk, she played for Chicago. So shout out to that beautiful, wonderful young lady, okay? who represents Chicago. Shout out to that awesome young lady who represents Chicago and showing how to bring other people in. You know, hey, y'all, you know, y'all know she didn't hire Lisa Leslie. So, I mean, you know, let's cut her some slack. That beautiful, gorgeous young lady who represents Chicago, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to the sky, okay? You know, that's a great Chicago representative. But women can buy tickets to go see her. You know what they can also do, y'all? They can buy their husband a ticket to go see her. Dig that. They can actually go see her themselves, and they can also buy a ticket for their husband to go see her. Heck, if they got some kids, they can actually take their kids to go see it. Okay? And maybe Angel Reese ain't the one for you. Maybe it's somebody else. But they can go see them women. You know? They can watch their games on TV. They can go buy their basketball jerseys and the other merchandise. You know? Their female superstars can get paid just like the male superstars. If they willing to, you know, put the capital behind it. This is capitalism. You know? So even if you say, well, men can go to the NBA and make a bunch of money, but the women can't do that. Well, they could if y'all supported them. You know? So maybe we got an issue that women are against women making more money. Maybe that's what the issue really is. Maybe women's jealousy of each other extends so much that they hating on other women for making more money than them. Maybe that's what women is on. Okay? Because the way I look at it, you know, the brag would be, I'm a woman that don't have to make money. That's what the brag would be for me. Now, I done been around some women who ain't got to make no money. Not saying they wasn't capable, not saying they didn't have abilities and things like that, because I done been around some very capable women who can do a lot of stuff, but they ain't got to make no money. They got husbands and they husbands do it all. And I know, and I'm saying this as a guy, a guy who got a regular job, and I actually have been able to meet, you know, some black millionaires. Okay, gorgeous wives, very capable wives. All right, they wife can be out there out earning most men, but they wives ain't got to work, and that's just what it comes down to at the end of the day. They wife beautiful enough, she ain't got to worry about it. Okay, and yeah, some multimillionaires who got wives, they wife bad as I don't know what, but they ain't got to work. Okay, But they are going to be included in that pay gap because, that's women who ain't working, who ain't making money. So as a man, it's hard for me not to see the pay gap don't come from women being lazy. Okay? Where else could it be coming from, y'all? Where else could it be coming from? Now, I don't know if nobody else has something to say. I know we've been having some trouble on this channel with the links, but when I drop the link in the chat, some people have joined. So let me, I ain't saying nobody got to come up, but I want people to have the opportunity to come up if that's what's holding people off. So I'm using another device. I'm going to go grab the link, throw it in the chat real quick. Because I want people to be able to get their fair shake if they got something to say on this, okay? But I know this is an interesting topic. But with all the stuff that we do in this country so women can have their fair shake of everything else, and they do have the ability to start businesses, okay? They can get the jobs we can have. They can go to school where we go to school. They can do all the different stuff. Yeah, I'm laughing already because I know this is finna be bad, y'all. I see it at the corner of my eye. 414 money is he's shooting at my team, man. He's shooting at my team. I'm trying to make you understand, y'all. I can't get on Angel Reese too bad, man. She play here, man. She she do play for the squad, okay? She on the squad, man. Why y'all got to do it like that, okay? 414 money says, imagine getting your car repoed because your wife bought season tickets to the Chicago Sky. Oh, man, that's cold, bro. I'm sorry, I gotta laugh at that one. Imagine getting your car repo because your wife bought season tickets to the Sky. Hey, bro, you wrong for that. You wrong for that. Okay, just because it's Chicago, you wrong for that. All right, y'all. I just dropped the link in the chat. You know what I'm saying? Man, that would be. So not only do I gotta pay for the car, now I gotta go pay a toll fee to get the car back. Some kind of storage fee to get the car back, and of course, when I pay for the car, I'm gonna have to, get it current. I'm gonna have to pay the note up to its current with the storage fee and the toll fee. Because the love of my life thought it would be a great idea to buy season tickets to the Chicago Sky. Woo! That's hard right there, y'all. That's all this hate towards Chicago, man. Shout out to Kevin 3905. He said this at 414 money. He said at the y'all ain't got to do Chicago like this. I'm just saying, man. He said at 414 money, at the most you might miss an insurance payment. Them tickets cheap. Oh, y'all bugging, man. Both of y'all wrong. That's what I was saying. Both of y'all wrong for that. Okay. Y'all ain't got to do Chicago like that, okay? All right. Angel Reese won odds right now, y'all. It's a tricky situation to jump all over Angel Reese for anything. As a content creator, I know a lot of other folks done let off on Angel Reese. I know I done seen some stuff, y'all. A lot of other folks done let off on Angel Reese. But that young lady played for my town. So I can't do it too dirty, man. I can't do it too dirty. That young lady is a Chicago representative right now. So I'm gonna have to let some stuff slide, y'all. That's called favoritism, okay? She a rep right now. She a rep. But we got Inspired Truth here, so I'm gonna let him get the mic while they over here taking shots, man. You got Inspired Truth. How you doing, brother?
Doing all right. I'm just kind of jumping in real quick. I'm gonna have to jump off real fast. So I just figured I'd take in my 2 minutes while I got a minute or two to give it. Um, I guess I kind of like I'll chime in on that over there on the Angel Reese side of things.
Oh,
Like here's the thing that people haven't like considered though. Like if you go and you look, there's like a Netflix series about how the different athletes were making their money off of social media. Like, so I have to like give her credit where credit is due for taking her viral moment and then blowing it up. Like the original thing that she blew up for was like blocking a shot while her shoe fell off. Like she took that viral moment and then just kind of like blew that up into like something really major. Like you consider that, and then you go back and you look at like Olivia Dunn. Like some people are kind of like kind of into gymnastics, but like in terms of it being like a big major deal that you're gonna make like millions of dollars off of while in college, that is kind of rare. Like she actually took that and turned it into a social media presence and then ended up making money hand over fist. Like that's where and then you have to compare and contrast that to this other player that they had, this other track runner, hurdles runner that they had that was like the third best in the world, making no money at all because she had no social media presence. Like you can be the best and work your best and work your butt off, and it mean absolutely nothing if you don't adapt and evolve to the current uh conditions that we have right now. That's basically what it is. Either up your social media game or kind of like fade away and starve in obsolescence and obscurity. Like wow, being one of the best.
okay. Well, since you said that, okay. So you say the one young lady you mentioned was like the third best in the world.
Yeah, like at
But
running hurdles or something like that.
but she got no social media presence, right?
Right.
So can we just say she lazy? She too lazy to create the social media presence that she could create, being the third best runner in the world, which I'm pretty sure would start to pay her a handsome ransom, as they say.
Well,
And
here's the
she's
thing
just too
about
lazy to
that.
do
Like
it.
when you have people that are trying to be the best at their particular field, a lot of the times that kind of requires them to be like singularly focused, like you really
So
become like kind of like keyed in on one particular feature, one particular aspect, one particular pursuit, and you don't really kind of veer off into these other lanes while you're going into that deep into that pursuit.
so what you're saying is she too lazy to ask her friends and family who already know how to do it to come be with her and make this money happen. So basically, what you're saying, she just ain't gonna even ask a question. Not that you're saying 100% for sure because you don't know her personally, but that's kind of what you're putting out there. She too lazy to even go to her own friends and family and say, "Who know how to do X, Y, and Z? Because this is what I need done." While I focus on what I need to focus on. So she just too
Maybe
lazy to ask a question.
Maybe initially, because I did see that later on in the series, she did kind of reach out to the folk that were on campus to try to, beef for social media up and, kind of get that popping. Like she did at least know enough to realize, oh, hey, I'm doing something wrong here if these other people are getting paid.
I mean, brother, you say she the third best in the world. If she ain't making more money than me, I don't know what's wrong with her. You know what I'm saying? How you gonna make less than me? I ain't saying I know what she made, but I'm just saying if you ain't taking advantage of it, you shouldn't be the third best at anything and not be able to out earn me. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That ain't even supposed to happen. You the
Yeah,
third
valid
best at
point.
something. You supposed to make good money.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I do think a lot of this is coming down, and maybe you're not seeing it that way, but I do think it's just women just being a little too lazy. Like, you're in a world that is still geared for you to get ahead. You know, people want to hire you just because you look nice, and then a lot of times it's just because you were female, and that could be anything. You could just be a regular dude trying to come into the workforce, and there's a clothing store that you want to make money at, but they're gonna hire that woman first just so she can stand at the door. Well,
Yeah, they
she'll
want to
bring
see
more
women
customers
win.
in.
Yeah,
You know?
that, and they like seeing like something pretty, some eye candy there.
Yeah. So my thing is, women, how you complaining about a wage gap when there's so much opportunity out here, and then on top of that, you want the men to pay for you anyway. So, I've driven some women crazy with that. Like, so shouldn't the man make more money than you if you want him to spend all the money?
Well,
You
yeah,
know?
that's the opposite side of hypergamy. I mean, it is a two-sided coin. Like, you have hypergamy on one side, then you have patriarchy on the other side. One doesn't really work without the other, and you have to pay the costs. You want what you want, okay, you gotta pay for that.
I've literally said to women, you don't want me to make more money than you at a specific job, but you want me to pay for us when we go on a date. Ain't that about nothing? We do the same job. Let's just say, keep it simple. We both make $10 an hour. Now, I could make 15 an hour if we do the same job so I can afford to treat you. But you don't even want me to make the extra 5 so I can treat you. Ain't that about nothing? Sounds a little selfish to me. I'm just saying. I'm not saying, y'all, that men should be paid more than women for doing the same job. I'm just saying the mindset of somebody who want me to spend more money than them, but you don't want me to make more money at the same job, because that's the logic they're going off of. Not that it's actually happening. It's their logic, the way they're thinking. Well, y'all making more money than we are for the same job. I don't know what job that is, and can't none of the best feminists have ever been able to point that job out to me, because I have asked. I consistently ask that question when I get into these conversations. Tell me what the job is, because I'm a man, so I want to know. I'm not
Well,
even saying you lying. I just want the job.
that kind of like dovetails. I don't know if you saw that clip, that video, Diary of a CEO. I mean, maybe that's definitely a discussion for another day. But oh my God, that debate between those three ladies there. Those that one feminist that was a basically like a journalist, got deep into like emotional narrative storytelling, and it just kind of reminds me of the fact that a lot of what we deal with over there is like fanciful thinking and myths and narrative and fiction and feelings over actual facts and reality. Like the way that whole thing was kind of like thrown out there and framed, we were kind of like there's a whole entire fake story that was presented as if it was an anecdote that was real. Like it was mind blowing when I saw that. Like, so when we think about like this whole idea about, guys, if we're not making more, we can't do more, but somehow a lot of women will expect for that to still work. We really got to kind of contend with the fact that a lot of them are living in kind of like a delusion and false reality.
Or my thing is, at some point in time, we supposed to bring them to the truth.
Yeah.
So the truth is, you want me to do more. I think I need to make more so I can do more. Why do you have a problem with me making more if you want me to do more? I just ask women straight up. That's a direct question. And I tried to take away everything to make it complicated, because women, the stuff is too complex. I make this stuff simple as possible. Why don't you want me to make more if you want me to pay more?
Well, yeah, it kind of goes back to like one of the thermodynamics laws. Like, I mean, like fundamental laws of the universe, like energy is neither created nor destroyed. Like, you want this to exist, but it has to come from somewhere.
Well, you ain't upset that women only make 77 cents on it? Ain't 77 cents enough? That's my thing. Sometimes you gotta ask the tough questions. Are you saying 77 cents ain't enough? Because you want me to pay 150? Well, you want me to pay I guesstimate a good $2. Nah, I mean, if I'm being real, I think you want me to pay 100 to 1. if there's money spent between us. I think you probably want me to pay about 100 to 1. At
Yeah.
least 10 to 1. At least. I think women definitely want us to spend at least 10 times as much as they do.
Well, yeah, but and then on top of that, like the field that it's in, like when you go and you actually dive into the details, like the actual field that they're in doesn't exactly compare in a way. Like you go and you look at it, it's like, okay, well, it makes sense that that guy would be making more. Or then you go and you look at the hours, and it's like the hours that the guy's working is more hours than what the female is working. So there's supposed to be a pay gap because of the nature of what they're doing and the time that they're spending on it, you know?
Well, because we live in an American society, my thing is I would have to assign that to laziness. Because you could go be a rocket scientist,
Huh?
but you're too lazy to do it.
Well, I'll give a little bit of grace. I will give just a little bit of grace and say that, okay, men and women are two different things. Like we're not necessarily like a one-to-one, but like feminism kind of like flattened the whole thing and wanted to pretend like we're the same thing and that we can go as hard on every single thing that's for society. And like your pay should be commensurate with the level of effort that you're putting in for it. And it's like just some things that guys are going to do that
What?
are going to be beneficial to society that are not necessarily going to be uh the same for the women in the society.
Well, my thing is the women can do. See, when you talk about a pay, now I say all day long, men and women ain't equals. But when you go to work, we supposed to be on an equal playing ground. That's not real life. Work is not real life. When you go to work, somebody say something to get on your nerves, you don't say nothing back. That ain't real
Yeah.
life. Now, in real life, you can just you can say all kinds of stuff about a person who talk crazy to you, but at work, you put on your smiling face. Whether you an employee or owner, you want people to feel good about coming to your company. Very rarely are you going to snap on a customer or a potential customer. That's a very rare thing. So now you talk about the wage gap. We're talking about people working. We're not talking about just people walking around in society. We're talking about people working. Why you can't go be a rocket scientist? What's stopping you?
Oh, yeah, that's true. I mean, just nothing but space and opportunity. There's plenty of space, there's plenty of opportunity. And there's plenty of people that will cheerlead for you on that too.
And my thing is, shout out to J Bo, just because he put the word family in the chat. You ain't even got no family. Why you can't get your bread up? You see, this is the thing. I ain't no multimillionaire. And I got to accept that some of that is due to laziness. Now, people who know me be like, man, you're not lazy. Well, I ain't made no $1 million, though. You know what I'm saying? I don't make $1 million a year. Other people making $1 million a year. It's something I probably could do to go make it. The thing is, I'm honest with myself. There are things I'm willing to do versus there are things that I'm not willing to do. And there's certain things I'm just not going to do. It's not going to even be in question if I'm going to do it or not. And I told y'all before, I tried to be a rapper back in the day. I was very good. I got some decent opportunities. Some stuff almost worked out between me and the people I was working with. We just didn't quite get there. But my thing is that risk was worth me taking back then. But now, as an older person, there's just some stuff I'm not willing to do. There's stuff I can get paid more money, but I ain't willing to do it. It just is what it is. And I accept because I'm not willing to do it. I don't get that money that comes with me. My lack of be willing to do that particular thing. You ain't gonna never see me up in no situation talking about, yeah, we seen him go in that back room with that guy so I can get some opportunity. It ain't happening. I'm just not going there. It just is what it is. There's a lot of things that we all have that stops us from making more money because we're not willing to do a particular thing. Some of y'all ain't willing to get a certification. Some of y'all ain't willing to get a degree, a diploma. You know what I'm saying? You're not willing to go to a particular city. There's you can make more money. It's just you don't want to do certain stuff. So
Ooh, that's a
now,
big one there that go to another particular city because a lot of what keeps people kind of kind of back from what their potential is, sometimes is making that trip to another town and like cutting ties. You lose something when you move, you do lose, but you also kind of gain on the financial and the career side of things when you do that. This that was actually a serious statement that we really have to look at that, and also knowing what opportunities are out there. There's a lot of things in the past, like back there.
We losing you. We losing you. They kind of snatched your mic.
You hear me?
We hear you now. They snatched your mic for a minute. We hear you now. Well, I thought we heard you now, but if you talking, we don't hear you now. So they going at you, man. They going at you. So let me do some fill-in work while they got your mic. Now the thing is, y'all, when it comes to a wage gap, what is it that I can do as a man that a woman can't do? I don't know. No, that's just what it really is. They can do the stuff that I can do. If you want to be a truck driver, she can be a truck driver too. Both of y'all can go over the road. You can make some money. Okay. If you want to be a doctor, she can be a doctor too. You want to be a specialist? Well, she can be a specialist too. Okay. You want to create a new brand of shoes and become a Fortune 500 company? She can too. Ain't really nothing you can do as a man that she can't do. So if women keep pushing the wage gap issue, I'm gonna keep pushing that they just lazy, and that's why the wage gap is where it is. I understand back in the day, women didn't want these jobs like that, because if you, like I was saying, you drop 2,000 men off with 2,000 women, you're gonna see what people really want to do. when you know good and well, ain't nobody going to the grocery store. We got to get out here and find some food, and we got to start doing it immediately. And we got to start building a shelter so these people can be okay immediately. We don't know when it's going to rain. We don't know when it's going to snow, whatever the case is. Well, maybe you'll have some idea, depending upon what part of the country you in. But when you got to deal with reality like that, women ain't want them jobs. So I don't even look at this stuff from the perspective that women have always wanted jobs. People say women were oppressed. They didn't want the jobs. It just is what it is. The women, you can't be oppressed if you ain't even want it. Now, when it got far more comfortable, sure, there's women who want to participate in certain areas of the workforce, because that's what it is for women. It's all about certain areas of the workforce. That's why you have male-dominated jobs. Y'all think about this. How can you have a male-dominated field of any kind when women outnumber men? Unless the women are too lazy to do the work. I'm going to say that again. How can you have any male-dominated field when there's more women than men, unless women are too lazy to do the work? All right? That's just what it is. There's more women than men. So every field should have just as many women in it as men do. Every single field. Okay? Women talk about these male-dominated fields. Well, how come y'all don't dominate them? It's more y'all than us. Yes, it can be more women doctors than male doctors because y'all have the numbers. There can be more women surgeons than male surgeons because y'all have the numbers. There can be more women garbage men than garbage women because y'all have the numbers. There ain't no way for men to dominate women unless they just want to be dominated. Not in America. Yeah, other places in the world you can argue about what women are allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. In America, there ain't no job saying you can't do it. The job say if you're good enough, you can take the job. That's what the jobs say. If you're good enough, you can get it. They're not holding women back like that in this country. But they talking to regular, everyday, average men saying we supposed to feel some type of way or make decisions based on the fact that there's a wage gap. And if you got a daughter, you really supposed to feel some way about it. Because if you got a daughter, what your daughter gonna do when she come of age? Man, I could have 89 daughters. I ain't gonna never worry about them. I ain't gonna never worry about them in no wage gap. It's just not gonna happen. It's a scenario that makes no sense to me at all, that I would ever have a daughter and I need to be worried about a wage gap. If my daughter wants some money, my daughter can get out there and work. Or you know what she could do? The option I ain't never have. She can just go get a husband. Okay, let's keep that real. She can just go get a husband. All right. Now some of y'all can't stay in school. You're out and you ain't going back. But the truth is, you could go back if you think you need another degree. Okay, if you think you need a, if you just got to go get your GED, it doesn't make a difference what level it is. Okay, and you can get a PhD if you want one. They still selling them. They still selling them. You can get a PhD if you want one. Most folks ain't got no PhD because most folks don't go to college. If you want to keep it real. But even other people who go to college, most of them ain't got no PhD. They still selling PhDs. And you know what else is crazy about them selling PhDs? A lot of women can get a man to pay for their PhD. Let's be real about that, y'all. How many men have paid for a woman to go to college? Sometimes it's directly out their pocket. Sometimes it's the woman getting a loan and he's helping her pay off the loan. Sometimes the man is paying off the loan by himself. There's a lot of different things that men do, and women can go to school and they can get a PhD and don't have to spend a dime out their own pocket on it. But I'm supposed to worry about a wage gap. If the women too lazy to be in front, what am I supposed to do about that? If the women are too lazy to be in front, what am I supposed to do about that, y'all? And I'm using this term lazy deliberately because technically everybody can be considered lazy because we all could go do something else. There's a whole lot of potential in any human. Real talk. Now, my thing is, I respect the beautiful women that don't go to work. They just tend to their families. I got respect for them. I'm not even tripping that they not working. But you know what? I also have to accept the way that math works. If there's women out there being housewives, they're not going to be putting any money into the economic numbers that you're going to count to see where men are versus where women are. So when you tell me what 77 cents on a dollar is made when you start comparing women to a white man or any man, it doesn't make a difference to me. I'm going to say the gap is supposed to be there. If ain't no gap there, how we keeping our wives at home? We should have a gap. That's real talk. We should have a gap. And I think we need to start to turn the corner where conversations about pay gap, men need to understand we should have a pay gap. What can we do to increase the pay gap? Now, why would I want the pay gap increase? Because if I had daughters, I would rather my daughters be with a man and that man don't make them go to work. So now, of course, if you ask me what kind of man I want my daughter to marry, a black one. Because one thing I know about black men, they ain't gonna make their women go work. Now I can't tell you about everybody else, but black men in general, we not gonna make our wives go to work. Other folks may be doing that. I've heard some interesting stuff from people who ain't black. I'll just say that. I've heard some interesting conversations, but with black men, the general rule is she don't have to work. You know? And I understand that there are more men nowadays who will say, yeah, I want a wife that's working, but I ain't heard no married men say it. The general rule amongst black men is our wives just don't have to work. We may not beat our chest and say it, but that's what's happening. That's the real life on the ground. We don't make our women work. They work if they want to. Now, I'm not going to say it's been brothers who got a problem with the fact that they women are going out to earn some money. I ain't necessarily seen that like that, you know. But the general rule is she ain't got to work. It is what it is. I got it. That's what black men say all the time. Told y'all my uncle said that not too long ago. Man, I just pay the bills, man. You know. Now he in a great spot. He got grown kids and all that, you know. People come around, you know, they chill out at his house or whatnot or whatever, you know. He just say, man, I just pay the bills. He don't even worry about the money like that. He still work. He do his thing. He got a great wife that loves him, takes care of him. You can't go to their house and make your own plate if you a man. Y'all hear me? You can't go. If I took all y'all to their crib, you ain't gonna make your plate as no man. You ain't doing it. Okay? The wife gonna take care of it all. That's real talk. You can't make your plate. You know, I ain't never made a plate at their house. And I'm grown. Been going over there since I was a little kid. I ain't never made a plate at their house. Okay? Never. So my thing is, a gap is supposed to be there. It's supposed to be there. It's necessary. We can't brag about how our wives ain't got to work if ain't no gap. We got to make sure there's a gap there. Heck, we need to get that gap increased. So women talking to me about this wage gap, I give them a very much different type of conversation at this point, even than how I used to do it. But I never bought into this, you know, quote unquote gap theory. And I consistently have asked women, just tell me what the job is where I can make more money simply because I'm a man, because I just want the job. I'm not trying to bust down your whole thing. I just want the actual job. Just tell me what it is so I can apply. Now, got my main man H. Rebels coming up to the mic. All right. Now, this could be considered a dangerous conversation. So I'm going to see what he got to say on it. Go ahead, H. Rebels. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, hey, good morning, and shout out to you, Roger, as the host, and greetings to the folks who are listening. Uh, yeah, as it relates to this wage gap thing, this has been a long, well, decades long discussion. Not so much initially when women started working, and women went into the factories in the 1940s, right? You know, to take men's place, to replace the men that have gone off to fight during the Second World War, and then you had most of them decided to come back, but then that's where the United States gets the idea. Hey, we can have women do some of these jobs, and we could double the workforce, and yeah, blah blah, and it'll be a great thing. And we have more people paying taxes. Um, the thing is that whenever this wage gap thing is talked about, it's not really explained in a way that's that actually explains this gap. The pay scale is the pay scale, right? The market rate is the market rate. I know for private businesses and corporations, the pay scale varies depending on, somebody be doing the exact same job, but then it varies based on your responsibility, duties, your tasks, your assigned tasks, duties, and responsibilities. So that could explain the difference in pay there, even though it's the same job. Right? It could be the same corporation, but in a different market. The New York market versus the New York market versus the San Francisco market, right? So there's some explanations there. It's just that when women explain this, and when people talk about this gap, there's nobody can ever really get down to the bottom line reasons as to why there's this, 30-cent difference, 20% difference, or or for black women, like an almost 40% difference in some cases, right? So that's the problem with this discussion. And then when men go, well, women work less, you take more time off, and then you have kids. Then there's there's a break in your career progression when you actually take time off from work, from your career, in order to produce children. You'll have women who get pregnant. And hopefully they're married, but you'll have women who get pregnant, they're married, and they'll take time off, and then even if it's paid leave, and then they decide, what, this is what I want to do for the next 5-6 years. All right. So there's other factors that come into place as to why there's this gap, but it's like, and it's funny you said your title is it shows evidence of women being lazy. It's in a lot of ways that's true, in the sense that, look, yeah, there's a gap. I'm gonna do less. I'm gonna take time off. I'm gonna even put my career on hold for a little bit, but I still want to get I still want to get paid the same amount of money that men get paid for doing more work. You see what I'm saying? And that's the issue. So it's almost like there's a never really honest discussion about it. But I'll go ahead and let you respond.
Now, I think you bring up a very good point, and that the discussions really aren't that honest, because people aren't saying some of these things that I'm saying today. That people ain't really adding this into the situation. You didn't make as much money because you just didn't come in. If you look at men coming to work with against women coming to work, who gonna take a day off? A woman gonna take a day off usually far more than a man's gonna take a day off. Why? Because a woman will take a day off just to enjoy herself. A man has to go to work so the woman can enjoy herself. That's usually the dynamic that happens between men and women.
And then men will actually, when we take time off, it's going to be, of course, around your paid vacation time. And then the other thing too is mostly around major family events, a graduation, a wedding, some other special event that's going on in the family. There's this major award that somebody that's important to you and your family is receiving. So you're going to take a day off. You're going to drive down there or get on a plane and fly. It might take you 2 or 3 days to get all of this done. It's got to be something meaningful, right? Or at the worst case scenario, then there's illness, right? So there's exceptions for men, but yeah, women are more inclined to just, oh well, I just need some time off. They'll even start doing what do they call that? Emotional days, or what is it? It's something related to your emotional workload.
I thought it was the mental health day or something.
Mental health day, that's what it is. Yeah, it never even occurred to me to think about that. I'm like, well, especially as a black man, I'm like, well, damn, we shouldn't even be working.
You're right.
like, all you gotta do is say America, America, damn it! Like, shit, black men shouldn't be working.
I'm stressed because I live here.
Yeah, like, come on now, why are we even working? so mental health day, really? You serious? And I know people need it because they do get stressed, but I'm like, well, this is actually part of the problem of looking at things from the lens of a black man in America, right? Because it's difficult for us to kind of relate that empathy and compassion to other people when no one has that same level of concern for us as black men. So now we're crossing genders, right? Now you're doing a transfer and a crossover of the genders, and it's like, okay, so but you guys do a whole lot of things that men don't do, and especially black men don't get to do. So what are we talking about here? What are we talking about?
And I think that's why, certain like things that I'm trying to put forward could be a problem for people. Because I don't mind looking at you through the same eyes that we got looked at through. I understand we was told to pull ourselves by our bootstraps. I've accepted that's the reality. Yeah. Cool. So I think that should be your reality too. Because if we accept it, I think you can accept it. So anybody saying something about a wage gap, I think the issue is just women lazy. Because why didn't you just go build a Fortune 500 company so women can make more money?
Well, yeah,
You
and the
could
other
have.
thing, yeah, and the other thing too is so for again the comparison between black men and everybody else is that it's not our fault that black men are just openly denied economic opportunities.
Well,
And then even when we do get those opportunities, then it's like, well, yeah, you're black and you're a man, so we're gonna pay you less no matter what. We know you need a job, and you got to eat and you got to feed your family, so you're gonna do this and you're gonna take what we give you.
what
And go ahead.
No, I'm saying, the thing is, we ain't sat around simply just saying they not paying us right and we ain't gonna, we finna turn this into an issue. No, we just took the job that was available and we did what we had to do with it. Some of
Yeah,
us was
absolutely.
able to get some businesses off the ground. Some of us have tried to get some business off the ground and have failed. But at the end of the day, we in the same America everybody else is in, and we got less opportunity if you really want to be real about it than other people because we got to be far more connected to some other folk. And then people try to want to talk to us about a wage gap. Number one, the average black man ain't in control of nobody's salary. Let's just keep that all the way real. Okay. They talk to us as if this is an issue we have power to solve. I'm
Hmm.
not controlling 500,000 women's salary. Okay. But you don't really want to talk to the people who own the major corporations because you want to stay in good grade because you want to keep working for them. So you want to talk to the everyday average Joe. If I'm working where you working, how am I going? What power do I have over the general woman's salary if we got the same job? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's the other part of it too is the discussion is never really taken to the people who really have the authority to make these changes.
Yeah, because they ain't
You're
got no
talking
beef
to
with them. You
yeah
ain't got no beef with the CEO. Your beef is with me, and I got the same job you got.
yeah
Yeah, which makes no actual sense. And then the thing is, if you tell them what black men have been told, they act like you're saying something wrong. Because you know how many times I done told them, well, why don't you just go build a Fortune 500 company, and they'll get mad at me for saying that. You know, you know how hard it is to do something like that.
yeah we know.
Technically, no. I have an idea. I'm gonna say I don't even know because I ain't never built the Fortune 500 company. I think it's pretty freaking hard, though. I think it's but I'm a man. Something being hard ain't never been an excuse for us.
Yeah,
You just got to
yeah.
perform anyway.
Well, so that's the other part of it too is that they don't say it, but they want some kind of help along the way. They want even if they have the idea that they want to actually give a deep impression that they did it themselves, they still want the breaks. They still want the breaks along the way. I need the money for the startup. Can you help me with that? I need to get my foot in the door. Can you help me with that? You know, uh, if a man starts a business, then he's gonna have to do the whole thing from start to finish all by himself, and that's the expectation. And you got to convince other people to invest in you if you're looking for help, which means you have to have a really great and amazing idea. I mean, think Shark Tank, right? Like that's the whole point of those people going on that show. They're like, look, I got this great idea. It's an opportunity. I'm already making money, and I'm going to blow up, and I'm going to make more money. But you can get in on this right now. So you got to be able to convince people of that in order to get that help. You can do that as a man or woman. That's not the way the women present it, though. They present it like, look, I just need you to give me some help along the way. Whether I do anything, whether you get anything out of it or not. I'm telling you, look, that's how y'all come across. That's how y'all come across as women. And that's how they come across when they talk about this wage gap thing.
Yeah, I just say it as, hey man, I just think people lazy. Because I'll make a blind bet because I don't know. Technically, I do not know. But if I start looking at the percentage of men with two jobs versus the percentage of women with two jobs, I would blindly bet any amount of money that the percentage of men with two jobs is far greater than the percentage of women with two jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other part of it too is that then you got again going back to black men. Black men had reasons to work multiple jobs, or at least two jobs, in support of the safety of black women. and the black girls that they were raising to keep them away
Absolutely.
from these, to keep them
Absolutely.
to keep them away from other people.
Yep.
That was a form of protection for black women and girls. But yeah, this look. So then the other argument is, okay, so if corporations and companies can pay women less, well then just hire mostly women. See,
I
and
mean,
then
yeah,
when you ask that,
I've seen people make that argument, and it's a sound, logical argument, you know. And I've done close to the same thing, but I keep asking women who keep saying that women are paying less. I keep asking what company that is so I can go work there. And this ain't no joke. You literally telling me I'm a man, I can make more money by working for this particular company. Can you just tell me what the company is? I ain't. I'm asking a legitimate question as a man who could go there and make more money. What company is that? And they get so upset when I ask them. They do, you know. And I don't
well,
see what the
so the
problem
reason
is.
they get upset, Roger, is they can't explain it. Look, they really can't explain why this is happening. And then when you start asking the questions of, okay, so how often do what's the workload? That's the other thing too. Even if they are getting paid the same, then what about the workload, the actual workload? Who's going to generally, and especially if it's a more physical job. So you rarely see women in construction, right? I've seen it. It's rare, and they're usually the kind of they're usually the big husky. Whenever I see it, I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of understand, because it's usually a big husky, white woman, that you don't have to work for a living anyway, because ain't nobody trying to take care of her. So, um, and she doesn't have the education to do anything else. The only problem with that physical work is a woman's body breaks down much faster, and it's much more difficult for women to maintain that endurance over time versus men.
Well, I've worked at some jobs that you had to be a little physical on, and I saw all kinds of women getting help from me at this job. And
Yeah, and if the pay is
I've been besides,
50,000, then what? Then you need to be doing the exact same job.
yeah,
If they're
I've
paying both
been,
of us 50 grand annually, then you need to be lifting the same boxes, pushing the same weight, uh, you know, uh, doing the same amount of physical exertion that it takes to get that job done, based on the equivalent pay scale. And this is what makes it's okay. This goes back to your point, or to your topic. This is what makes them look lazy. Is they want the money, but they don't want it. But they don't. But they try to figure out ways to get around doing the full scale of the work. Right?
I've literally told Ben, why don't you stop helping her? If she gonna look bad, she gonna look bad. If she looks too bad, they'll just fire her and bring in somebody else that can handle the job,
Yeah.
which makes my job easier.
I actually had a situation where a woman got fired, and it wasn't a physically based job. It was actually more. It was more. What do you call it? It was more cognitive, right? And
Mm-hmm.
she was making mistakes across the board. She was making mistakes that was costing that at least one of the supervisors felt was costing her time. And she seemed a bit upset about it when she was removed, because he told me not to tell her that she was getting terminated, but somebody had to be there when she was getting terminated, right? And I was the guy that was designated for that, and I was told directly, well, you can't tell her the termination is coming, but you got to go. And I'm like, oh man, so I'm gonna look like that. I'm gonna look like the a-hole, right? I'm gonna look like the jerk that didn't give her the heads up. Which I hate that he put me in that situation. But the thing is that it was legit. She was making mistakes, cognitive mistakes that was costing time and was frustrating the higher level supervisors.
And you know what? Getting fired is a risk you take whenever you get a job. So to me, it just comes with the territory. I don't even see it as a big deal.
So that might be the other part of it too, is that they don't account for the mistakes that they're making. And
Absolutely.
they're still able to keep a job.
Show you right. Now, shout out to Copper D. Copper D clearly has an amazing sister, y'all. He say, my sister has had 3 heart attacks. She also gets out in very cold weather, below 0 on many days, okay? While she's working, okay? She's one tough B. I'm just gonna say that. She's one tough B. And Carver D, I believe I'm picking up what you putting down, because there's some people, they have all these amazing things that can happen to them, but a lot of time when it's a female, nobody cares. Like, you can have 3 aunties, and you put in for time off because your 14th auntie done died. Now you only had 3 growing up, but your 14th auntie just passed away, and of course you got to be at the funeral because you was her favorite niece. Yeah, and women just do stuff like that. Now the thing is, eventually that's gonna affect the wage gap, because the women ain't coming to work to get the money. People only get so many days off where they're gonna get paid. I have seen people run out of paid days off. I've seen it. Okay. I done seen people get into some bad situations. I've seen other people who just simply played too much and took too many days off, just kicking it. And they got themselves in a position where now that they needed to take some days, there wasn't no money for them, wasn't no paid day. They just taking days for free, getting paid nothing. It happens.
Well, so here's the other thing too. For this time, because so you saw that when you were looking at the video, they put up the graphic about the breakdown of how married couples operate, right? Who's doing the most gender related work, dealing with childcare and all this other stuff, right? And this topic comes up quite a bit. Women, again, emotional labor, physical labor, um, you know, gender roles, all this other stuff. Okay, if it's that much of a burden, pay somebody else to make up the difference. Pay another woman or a man, because gender neutral, because all they're doing is just completing tasks. Uh, Instead of you taking time off work, well, then you go through the trouble of vetting and on call. You do the evaluation. You have somebody who's on call, who's capable of actually doing those types of. If your kids got to go to the doctor, okay, well then, and it's not life threatening. Obviously, life threatening. Everybody understands that, but the routine time off, PTA meeting, and stuff like that. Okay, then, well, you pay somebody else to do that for you. And when you suggest stuff like that, then we're like, oh, well, no, I can't do that. Okay, then, well, then you gotta take a hit somewhere, right? You got to take a hit somewhere. Like when they have this discussion, they don't want to take a hit anywhere, but they still want the full 100% of that dollar, right? They want that full 100%. They want that full dollar, but they don't want to earn that full dollar. That's
Absolutely.
why it makes them look lazy.
And I'm gonna say, even with your suggestion, that if it's costing you too much to be a better mother, and now we need to hire somebody who's a better mother than you. See, the issue is, how's the guy gonna see it? Because she sure know how to love my kids. I'm pretty sure that's gonna be a very attractive quality to a guy.
Yeah, well, no, well, you just pay, but you're paying somebody to make up the task, though. And the reason I say that is that, so when there were times when my kids were coming up, I would have to get somebody else to kind of fill in and do things that I couldn't accomplish. So I'm like, well, shoot, just pay somebody else to do it. I was on deployment.
Yeah,
and my kids needed help.
I do get that,
and I wasn't there. I wasn't physically present, and I couldn't, or there were times when things were beyond my capabilities. Like, men don't have problems bringing in outside help, especially.
That's a time-to-time issue, not a regular everyday issue. If you bring somebody in to do everyday stuff, uh, you're not making an argument that you should be the person that's married. If you're a woman bringing somebody to do everyday stuff, you know what I'm saying? I get, you were dealing with some military stuff and being, deployed sometime and all that. I totally get that. But if you ask somebody to come do the everyday stuff, which I said a little while ago about, a woman having a job, but you want to pay for daycare and all that type of stuff, but the type of money you make, it don't even make sense for you to even get to daycare. You might as well just stay at home. If you're gonna pay somebody to do the everyday stuff, it's gonna be natural for a man to question why he's married to you instead of the other woman.
Yeah. Look, again, going back to the topic, it makes women look lazy. They want the full dollar. They don't want to do They don't want to do the work to actually get that full dollar, and which is going to cause you to exert, some, maybe more effort than you want to, and expend more mental energy than you want. So look, it does. I mean, this is actually a pretty good topic because all roads lead back to female laziness, and
And
that's a
and my
problem.
and my thing is we need a bigger wage gap. Because having a bigger wage gap means there's more men making money and there's more women who are at home that don't have to make any. So, a lot of, people are talking about the wage gap from a perspective that it's a negative thing. When I pay attention to what it represents, it sounds like a positive thing. Because if women
Well,
had to make the same money that men had to make, that means they got to come to work the same way we got to come to work. They can't take time off to be women. I understand they're women. They're going to deal with stuff that we don't have to deal with as men. You don't get no time off to quote unquote be a woman. And if those things are not true, yeah, okay, well, they're going to get that same dollar that the men are getting. But you're going to lose a lot of what you are because you're getting that same dollar. So I don't see what the issue is, except the wage gap ain't big enough.
well, so um, look, they're gonna have to figure out how to get this done, and then just, you know what it is? They're not willing to make the sacrifice anywhere. That's what the real issue is. They're not willing to make that sacrifice somewhere. Look, even Michelle Obama said this, and I know we kind of getting on her a little bit lately because she's kind of wilding out sometimes with her husband. But she said it. She said, "Look, career. There's a pyramid, right? Pyramid, three sides, and usually, when obviously anything two-sided is unstable, right? And one side of that pyramid can't hold up the whole table, but you can actually get a stable table if you got all three sides operating equally, right? But you can have the career, you can have the husband, you can have the family, but you can't have it all equally at the same time and be effective in each of those categories. So you have to make cuts somewhere. So are you going to cut your husband? You're going to cut your family? You're going to cut the job? In a lot of ways, and if you care about husband and family, then it's easier to cut that job or at least back off from it. Remove some of your tasks, duties, and responsibilities so you're not overworked, overstressed, and you're not taking away from the other two sides of that pyramid.
I
Like,
think the first problem with the gender wage pay gap is that people don't understand you need one. I think that's the first problem. Why are we trying to make it equal? What is the purpose in trying to make it equal? I would rather that we have some women in our society who get to stay at home, which is going to create a gender wage gap. They got men. The men are making enough money. They need to stay home. Okay, I like their husband's idea of keeping them at home. They get to be at home. They get to be with their kids if they got some. They get to have quote unquote tea with their daughters. They get to be real feminine and great examples for other women because they can stay at home and chill out and a lot of time because they ain't got a whole lot of work to do. I am 100% fine with women staying at home so they
but you
can
don't
be
get
better
paid for
women.
that. You don't get paid for that. And
But
they
what I'm
want.
saying, that is going to cause the gender wage gap, though. That it's going to literally cause a gender wage. If a man makes enough money that his woman doesn't have to work, that's literally adding to the gender wage gap. That's why I'm saying women make too much money. It should be more women who can be at home and relax. And I don't see that as a bad thing. I don't see women at home because they got a man paying for their whole life as a bad thing.
So look, I'm not a woman, but this is the way I would do it. All right. I would, obviously, graduate high school, go to college if I'm going to plan on working in a field that requires a college degree, and somewhere along the way meet the husband, get married, produce the children, and then take some time and back away for a bit, so that way I'm not overworked and stressed out trying to deal with kids and a career and a husband. So I can focus on, I can keep the main things, husband and family, even work part time if I needed to, or to stay relevant in my field. You're still going to be back. You're still going to be held back. But I mean, you gotta decide what's important, and then that's a 10 to 15 year. You get those three kids knocked out. Look, the average woman does 2 or 3 kids, right? So you get those 3 kids knocked out, and you do that, and then you eventually go back to work, and then you can slam it full time.
But my thing is, why she got to? Why are we looking at this as if the woman is missing out by being able to stay at home?
See, but that's it. That's the problem. Okay, there you go. There it is, right there. There it is. That's the sticking point. That's the point. They feel that they're missing. Oh, my career. Because when you hear them talk about this, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about, well, everybody else is advancing and I'm held back, and I had that 10-year gap, and I should be a mid level or a higher level manager in this position, but because of these damn kids and this husband, I'm held back, and everybody else, my peers, are moving forward. Who cares about? Look. Again, there's got to be sacrifice somewhere.
Well, my thing is this: I don't even see it as it has to be sacrificed somewhere, because you got to make a choice. But I'm, as a man who's been able to spend time around married women who don't have a job, I'm gonna say it's been wonderful. Okay, they make great cookies. You know what I'm saying? They tell better jokes. They dress better. They present themselves to society better. The women who get to be at home and have a husband that's taking care of everything. And I'm not saying she can't do stuff. I'm saying the women who've actually been in the situation where they've literally been at home. Man, they just much better women. Okay, they're funner to be around. They're nice to people. They provide better environment. And that's real talk. And I'm saying that as the outside person, because I'm just a guest in somebody's home. But when I'm around these women and their husband is making all the money, I've never felt bad about it. They respect people the way people should be respected. They're much more enjoyable to be around. And I'm saying it as a man who, quote unquote, not really hanging around the women, because I'm there for the husband. They're much more pleasant to be around. They make better women, as far as I can tell. They're just all around better. And they can outcook y'all because they got more time to do it. They just all around better women. And I see that in even the women who have a job, but they have no pressure, like they got to go. They know good and well if they want to go home, they can. And their husbands is cool with that. Like my uncle said, man, I just pay the bills. Now he got a wife. She works sometime. I don't know if she a full-time worker, because they older folks. So she probably not a full-time worker. But she know her husband got it. The way she is toward life is just a lot more pleasurable to be around, because she's not stressed at all. It is what it is. But let me hear from Tunnel Runner, and we got Kevin up here. So Tunnel Runner, you got the flow, my brother.
How you doing, brothers? Hope y'all doing well. I'm doing well. And Roger, my wife is a seasonal worker. She works the season she wants to work.
Show you right. That's all right there.
Lately, the season had to come. Lately, she's just going to school. So, but she's happy and she's enjoying it. And yeah, I make more money than her because I work. I'm responsible, and she's very pleasant, very light, because she has freedom to work or not to work. To work on me is her number one project. Everything else is secondary. So I mean, that's the way I like it. And that's the
Now,
way go ahead.
realistically speaking, is she just in general, not even because she's your wife and the certain things she'll only do for you, in general, is she just a more pleasant person to be around when it comes to society as a whole than the women who, quote unquote, gotta work?
Oh, definitely, definitely. My wife had little children running up to her, leaving their mothers, and walking to my wife because she has a smile on her face. And they just leave their parents and walk to my wife and hold on to her hand. And they can leave, and the kid will stay with my wife because she's just a very pleasant, smiling woman.
There you go. There you go. I'm telling you, these women that ain't gotta work, they nice to be around. I ain't saying you got to be intimate around them, but they nicer to be around. Real talk. Uh, Kevin, you got the flow, my brother.
Mic check, fellas. Can y'all hear me?
We hear you loud and clear.
First of all, I want to apologize for tearing up your chat a little earlier today. But
Nah, you were hilarious. You were hilarious.
uh, but I agree that the that women should be at home primarily. primarily to be wives and to be mothers. I think that's their first and second job. I think after the children are raised, if they want to go out into the workforce, that's fine. Me personally, I would prefer my wife not to work and to be home because I don't want her under the authority of another man. And when you look at it, what is the purpose of most women working when it comes to what they put out into the society? They're not putting anything back out into the society. They're being selfish. It doesn't do anything for families. It doesn't do anything to push our culture forward or anything. They're not producing anything but more money and raising up the price of our goods, man. I just think we would be much better off if women were just more apt to be wives than to be in the workforce, man. I think the society will be better. I think the women will be more pleasant. I think they'll be happier. They just don't know it. Because it's a wonderful thing when a woman can say, "Well, my husband said," and that's it. That's all. What's the purpose? What's the purpose of them going into the workforce? What's the purpose? That's
Okay.
all I got.
And sometimes that's all you need, you know. At the end of the day, yeah, you know, you as a man, you should look at what women are putting into society if you're gonna have your wife out there working at the end of the day. And I know for me personally, if my wife is working for anybody other than me, she's definitely providing a service to the world. I'm gonna make sure I benefit off that more than anybody else. Real talk, you know. Um, Now, I'm never gonna say women can't work. This is not about women not being able to work. But at the end of the day, what is it? What is that we're trying to accomplish, and why is there a need for women to make the same amount of money as men when men are expected to be a provider? Men are expected to be a protector. Okay. Now I'm not gonna say we expected to be the leader, and especially not amongst black men, even though that's what we're supposed to be first, because I only protect and provide to those I lead. Okay. But why does my woman need to make the same amount of money as me? If I gotta pay the mortgage and she ain't gotta pay the mortgage, why she need to make the same money I make? Why is that even an issue? You know what I'm saying? And realistically speaking, because that's a society we live in. And if we lose the house, let's keep it real. Ain't nobody blaming her for us losing the house. They blaming me. That's the reality.
So, Roger, does it have something to do with the conditioning over the past few decades about what men and women about what men and women should be doing versus or versus what they actually do? Uh, they're trying to get it to a point where men and women are doing essentially the same thing, and it's never like that's not how an actual functional society works.
Well, my thing is, if we're doing the same thing, then we should have the same expectation. Because if you're gonna do what I do, then you need to do what I do. Don't
Well,
get a
then,
job and go to work and don't have to pay no bills. You hear women all day long talking about that right now, though. A man's supposed to pay 100% of the bill. What you got a job for then?
yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
let's be real about it. Well, I wouldn't accept no man unless he come to me. He already got a car. He already has his own home. He already done put X amount of years on the job and all that. Yeah, I don't mind no woman saying that, but are you saying it from your daddy's house? Don't tell it from me and you got you a job and you got your own place. And don't tell me none of that stuff if you got your own house. Don't tell me what a man's supposed to do and you got a house already. Don't tell it me from no apartment. If you think men's supposed to do all that type of stuff, then you better be telling me from your father's home. You see, you got my thing is y'all buy. I ain't saying y'all on the panel, but I'm saying the people who do it. You buy into this quote unquote modern women thing, but you don't want to be modern for real. Because men work to pay bills. That is the primary reason we work. Yeah, we get some fun stuff here and there too, but we work to pay bills. Your main job is pay. What they gonna tell you? You trying to go kick it at some amusement park, but you ain't paid the rent of the mortgage. Ain't nobody cool with that. So our primary reason to work is to pay a bill. That's it. And if you don't pay the bills before you go kick it, whatever your version of kick it is, everybody gonna look at you like you crazy. and they're gonna have a problem with you. They don't have to know you personally. If they find out your house with your kids is on the street because you was out there kicking it instead of paying the bill, everybody gonna have a problem with you. So my thing is, you can't halfway modern stuff. I know people like to use that term modern women because some guys didn't want to say black women. So now people call them modern. They ain't modern. They shysters at the end of the day. I don't mind that there be no pay gap as long as she got to do the same thing I got to do, and we're going to accept that. But that's not the society we live in. There's supposed to be a pay gap. And I think right now the pay gap ain't big enough because we don't have enough women who are actually being great wives and mothers who ain't going to work. The pay gap needs to be bigger. If it's 77 cents now, it need to be about 47 cents just for us to get started good. Anything over 50 cents is way too much.
You're actually advocating for something that's reasonable, and actually that's more practical. But I'm telling you, the way the women argue this, and most of the women who argue this, because you're not going to find, unless he's a male feminist or whatever it is, or pandering to women, you're not going to see too many men arguing in favor of, women getting paid the same and doing less work, and fulfilling less duties, tasks, and responsibilities. If you say you're there to get the money, then you got to get that whole dollar, which means you got to do what the men do. And then when push comes to shove, women are not, they're just not doing it. They're just not willing to do it. And they give you all the reasons that they can't get it done, but they still want that full dollar. See, that's the problem.
Right? And the thing is, when they have these conversations, a lot of men are afraid to say certain stuff because they worried about, are you going to be labeled a sexist? You don't have to have any sexist reason to show why there should be a bigger gender gap, which is why I'm doing it. I ain't saying one sexist thing, and I'm arguing that the pay gap ain't big enough.
So, and you know what? I don't see too many men that's going to argue against what it is you're saying. But where are the women who can effectively present their position in a way that can convince us that y'all can get that whole dollar without doing all the work? You got to do the exact. So if you want to be the CEO, if you want to be a Fortune 500 CEO, you got to do exactly what the men do. No excuses, none, not one. It can't even be what you call it, what you call it, that monthly things you get. I'm trying to talk around it. But
the period. You can say the period.
Well, I'll just say cycle. I'll just say menstrual. Just say cycle. Well, because dudes don't like talking about it. But so there can be no excuses. You can't even use your kids as an excuse. You can't use your kids. You can't use your health. You can't use physical limitations. None of that. You got to do exactly what the men do if you want that full dollar. So are they willing to do that though? And just history shows, and current and present day, presentation shows that they're not willing to do it, but they want that full dollar. That's the problem, or that's part of the problem, right?
Oh, absolutely right. They want the same result without putting in that same work. And the thing is, life ain't fair in general. We're not all made the same. We're not all the same heights. We're not all the same weights. We don't all have the same face. So what has it taken for especially a black man to make it happen? You know what I'm saying? To be in a winning position, that means you must make it happen regardless of circumstances. That is the rule. So when I talk about it, I talk in a way that I'm making it clear to women. If you want what you say some man has, you got to be willing to do the work to win in that same way, regardless of what the circumstances are. Because that's what he had to do to get it. Now, maybe somebody got a daddy that can give him $1 million, but you don't. So now you got to make it happen regardless that you ain't got no daddy to give you $1 million. But their whole thing goes, no, I think society should give me $1 million. And then, society should just give me the money first. And after they give me the money, I can create I can buy the facilities and buy all the stuff that I need, all my supplies. Then we should go into business. So give me $100 million first. We can go into business after I select all my employees, buy all my equipment, buy all my raw materials, and then we can start putting it out and hope that it's justified. I think that's how it goes mentally for women, for the most part.
Roger, I would agree with 100% of that if they do the same exact thing for black men. Everything you just said, I agree to. As long as they do it the same exact way for black men, I ain't gonna say nothing. But if nobody's going to do that, then you got to do what we do.
Hey, got to get it out the mud. It is what it is. All right, y'all. Well, even though y'all came up later, we about to hit that 3-hour patch. So, Tunnel Runner, any last words before we go off air?
Everything is there's nothing else. I got nothing else to say.
Okay, I'm gonna say shout out to your wife. Real talk. H Rebels.
Thank you.
Anything else you got to say? And shout out to your wife.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good discussion in the way that you present it, because again, when women do it, they present it in a way that's unfair, but they also omit the actual work that's necessary to get that full dollar, and they don't want to make any sacrifices or any cuts anywhere, and it's never going to burn that clean. It's never going to burn that clean. Even when men have to make sacrifices and we lose something in the process, we understand it, so we're not going to make any complaints for it, because we know we didn't even earn that full dollar. So if it doesn't work that way for men, why should it work that way for you? Just because you're a woman? No, we're not going to allow it. So I'll go ahead and stop right there.
And I'm gonna say real quick, shout out to Sarah B. She's saying something along the lines. Well, I'll say this because since she got it marked out. For Pete's sake, no crying at work, says the chick that employed too many chicks. Yeah. All I'm gonna say is tears don't mean anything, man. You at work. Tears is a social thing. Tears at work don't mean nothing, man. You save your crying till you get off. Real talk, y'all. Save your crying till you get off. It don't
no
mean nothing.
crying in corporate America.
Yeah, I'm saying, if you want to cry, wait till your break. You got another 15 minutes to go to your break. Now you can go cry in the car. You get all the tears out you want, but ain't no tears on the job, baby. That don't mean nothing. You at the wrong location, man. This is the job. The job is different. It's not social, man. Tears don't mean nothing. All right, y'all, I'm gonna wrap it up. But I think it was a great show. I think I put this even in a better way than we did it last time. So if you ever got any questions about people messing with you about that pay gap, and I know them women like to come to just a regular dude who ain't empowered to fix no quote unquote pay gap, I think y'all need to remind women that there needs to be a pay gap and stop hating on the women who are beautiful enough that they ain't got to go to work. Because that's all you're really doing. You hating on the women that's so beautiful that they ain't got to go to work just because you have to. Y'all have a good rest of y'all day. Long live the habitual line steppers. I'm Roger. I'm right. And I'm out.